Yeah, it's been very surprising, right, Marine? I think a lot of people were focused on Louis. I think he got a lot comparing to BCQE. Whereas CSO, I don't know if you agree with this, like I viewed him as more of an aggressive version of that, where he seems to play for the early mid game, whereas Louis is more of a mid late game player.
Yeah, for sure. And usually CSO tends to draft Jeanne d'Arc. Here he doesn't have them, so I'm not sure. Like his draft could be seen in a few different ways. I guess he can pick Zushi on Holy Island, so he can have Russ on land map. I
Mhm.
guess. And then Japanese is picked, but he's not gonna play it on Water, except if he wants to play it on Holy Island. But then he has Zushi for all land map, so I'm not sure what's the plan, but it might be a surprising plan.
Do you think maybe the Japanese was kind of like the bait element, so that you didn't know exactly what he was going to pick on Kawasan?
Maybe, could be, I'm not sure. It's hard to say, you know.
Yeah, it's kind of an interesting one, actually. We've noticed that HRE is just not making it through. The interesting stats have revealed themselves, Lytical. HRE, by far the best performing Civ here, 75% win rate, and by far the most bans, with now 75 bans so far in this tournament.
The economy of the HRE has always made them a very intriguing civilization to play. There's always that recovery potential that you have as well with the Pass of Schwabia. And when you look at the map pool, there's just such a good civilization for many of these maps. Talk about something like Holy Island, for instance. That eco boost at the beginning helps you a lot. Or talk about Frisian Marshes, one of my favorite maps for HRE. You have so many maps where you can leverage that eco power of the HRE. And I think a lot of players are approaching HRE saying, listen, you know, I might not have the strongest early game, let's say, but I do have a very powerful economy, and this gives me a lot of flexibility.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like, I've been kind of dissecting it. It feels like so far maybe the most desirable picks on this map rotation, Marine Lord, for Wololo is like what Roos, English, HRE.
Yeah,
Are there any others in your mind that maybe are creeping in there that people are waking up to?
I don't think any other deserves a ban, but maybe Byzantine is there too.
Hmm.
IUBs is pretty good, but I don't think it deserves a ban. I just think you pick it pretty highly, and that's it.
Yeah,
When
I
it
think it
comes,
was
yeah,
played like 32 times so far.
yeah,
So
not
it's,
surprising.
yeah, the third most played.
Yeah, and then Japanese sushi, obviously you love them on Holy Island, but since you are like, you even have China open, so you have a lot of open sieves for this kind of map. So I guess the meta is just to prioritize land map. So you just want your IUBs, your Byzantine, and then whatever you like, pretty much.
Yeah, and does the Malian pick seem a bit peculiar to you at all? Like, I feel like this is a S tier pick when Socotra's in there, but it
Yeah.
almost feels like a mid or just forget type pick past that, right?
Yeah, I mean, you're scared of Delhi, right? When you play Malians. So usually it's a sieve you're a little bit scared to play. You're scared of Mongols too. So that's a weird one because like it's low, not low tier, but it's pretty low in the tier list. And you're scared of those sieves. And then you do kind of okay against the upper end sieves. So Malian is just a big gamble in my opinion.
Yeah, and it is quite interesting you mentioned the Mongols. Like, they've been underperforming a 40% win
Mm.
rate so far. They've been played 20 times in total. Kind of interesting considering they're usually that kind of gotcha pick. Do you think that's maybe just the earlier phase players, maybe the outside the top 16 not knowing how to use it?
No, I just think Mongol is a big gamble too. Like you want to snipe some particular sieves, and if you don't get the snipes, then you have a bad time. Like Mongol against English, I'm not sure, but I would say English. Mongols against what, like Rus, is super hard. Mongols against Delhi can be pretty hard. So like you have a lot of hard matchups, and then you have the easy one you want to snipe. But if you feel you snipe, you're just gonna lose. So it's a bit of a weird dynamic.
Okay. Well, it's time to let these dynamics clash, right? We've got the old
Yeah.
Civ versus the new. Now, interesting stat going into this. CSO versus Wham. They've only ever matched up in tournament play once, and that was in a War Chief Club event where CSO took it 1-0. This is their debut clash. Who's going to have it? East versus West. We hop into our first game of the day.
And here we go, folks. Welcome to game number 1 of Wham versus CSO. This is once again the Red Bull Wololo El Reinado online stage. With the color yellow, it's the Abbasid Dynasty for CSO. And down to the south, it's Wham in command of the Ayobids with red. I'm, of course, Lidicor, joined by the one and only Marine Lord, awaiting his opponent already qualified for the LAN in Castle de Almodovar.
Yeah. So we are starting with a little of a weird mirror match, right? Because it's not mirror, but it's a variantive. Abbasid against Ayubit. So from what we see already, we can tell what CSO is gonna do. He's gonna go for like the fast feudal approach with military wing and try to ram down the lake. So it's a good strategy against Ayubits because you're scared of the fast culture wing. That's gonna happen obviously. And you want to take the control of the first lake. And that's not gonna be easy against Ayubits, obviously. They come up to H2 so fast.
Indeed, it is. As we have again a bit of a stutter here at the beginning, but we should be back on track. Now, I wanted to ask your opinion about this because this, to me, was always one of the more significant factors when you look at a game on Kawasan. How different is the game when the two players are sharing a pond in Dark Age versus the players splitting the two ponds in between them?
It depends usually with your save matchup. In this case, it's a pretty rare matchup, so I'm not sure. But I think since Abbasid is not gonna commit to any lake before he knows where his opponent is, he's gonna be fine. So he's just gonna rush into Wham's lake and they're gonna fight for it. So I'm not really sure how the dynamic is gonna work. Like, is he gonna dock and make units before going for the ram? Or is he gonna ram down the dock before going for a dock himself and making more units or like anything?
Well, CSO does have the resources for Feudal Age. No docks so far. He is going to be the first one to click up the Feudal. On the other side, Wham does have a dock already, and he's been leveraging that fishing eco. And CSO opening with the military wing to get those archers and spearmen out.
Yeah, I'm curious how many fish Wham is gonna make. Because you must be aware that this cheese is something pretty popular. So it's not the most popular strategy, but I think from Lou and from CSO it's been a popular one. To just skip water and try to rush down the Feudal Age. But against Ayubit, I don't know the dynamic. I think Ayubit should be fine. I mean, it should be pretty easy to hold if you play it very well.
Indeed, as you see on the right side, that progress bar for Wham's age up, it's going to be aligned well with CSO's age up. The two players will be just a couple of seconds in terms of the difference into Feudal Age. So it pretty much seems like these two players will be reaching Feudal Age exactly at the same time. How does CSO proceed from this position?
I mean, CSO, it's easy for him. You're just rushing down the dock. The more interesting one is gonna be Wham. Like, how do you defend that? Do you make any land units? Do you just make boats and hope to kill a ram eventually? I think you do a mix of both. I think you have to make a galley or a hulk first, and to defend the potential like units coming out from the dock, and then you have to make some units to defend the ram. So you have a few different ways. You can make archer, kill a few units, and then bring 1 or 2 villagers to burn down the ram. Or you have to make melee units, obviously, to kill a ram. So I'm not pretty sure what he's gonna do.
Well, CSO now dropping that dock out. Their second dock is out for Wham. Will be scouted immediately by CSO. Wham is yet to see that dock coming up from CSO, however, as CSO also now hits Feudal Age. Does have those two archers and spearmen out. Wham in response pulls the villager. And it looks like Wham is going to open with a galley over here.
Yeah, I'm curious if he's gonna add any production at home now with his 150 wood. Or is he gonna make another boat? For now, he's making a demo ship. That's very surprising to me. Very expensive for what it is for right now. I would expect more of a Hulk. But I mean, why not? You can just kill the Hulk if it comes out with this, so it's an idea.
This villager going on a little walk here all the way to the corner. What is he up to?
I'm really not sure. That's a little bit weird.
Could that be
Maybe
a
it's
market?
No, there is no way.
It could be a or it could be a market. That if you purposefully go for that corner, it feels like the only thing that you could do there is build a market.
I think he's just trying to hide from any potential scouts and go for a dock on the corner, which makes a little bit more sense, but that's a little bit wild.
Demo coming in here. Bugla a little damaged. Demo does connect. Bugla does stay alive, but basically no HP left. And the dock's repair is just insufficient. First ship goes down over here from CSO. As Wham is looking to sneak that villager around. Wham getting pushed on his gold mine, though. Has to evacuate this. He's got no land units to defend that gold mine with.
Pretty interesting. So one thing we can do with Japanese usually, you go on the gold with your shinobi instantly, and then you just spam Hulk, because your opponent cannot make any Hulk or demo ship because he has no gold. So he's just forced to make the archer, and then you can just win the leg by making a lot of Hulk. That's actually a strategy. So maybe that's his plan.
Docks being built on both sides, and oh, Wham's dock is not getting spotted here by CSO. That's going to come as a nasty surprise. He does have this new bug lock coming out here, 2v1 on this pond. But as you kind of highlighted, Wham cannot afford a demo right now, so this bug lock might be able to hold this position.
Yeah, it's still like 2 fighting ship, and you have a few fish to help you defend your lake. Obviously, repair is very valuable in this case, so it's gonna be very hard for CSO to retake this lake. I think he just wants to delay the amount of economy his opponent is making, while making economy on the other lake. But for now, he's fighting an uphill battle.
Bugla goes down here from CSO, though. Might have been a little overzealous with that demo now coming in. The other Bugla is full HP here, so it wouldn't be an instant sync. With that demo being around, CSO has to bail on this. Will end up losing this demo for absolutely nothing.
Yeah, that's pretty bad. He's making a ram, so he wants to pressure the docks now. But I feel like it's a little bit late. I'm quite sure Wham, with already his Archer, is gonna be able to defend and then can pull a few villagers if he wants. And since he has the control of the lake, he can totally defend the dock with his villagers, and that's fine.
Yeah, Archer's coming out here for Wham, but nothing to take that ram out with right now. He's actually pulling his scout to do so. 2 units garrisoned inside that ram, though, could pop any moment to try and jump the scout. Meanwhile, this dock from CSO is slowly going down, but he will be able to squeeze out one more Buglaw here to try and maintain his presence on this pond. At the same time, this ram is taking out this dock without any issues. Scout from Wham also being targeted down by the Spearman. You can see it at the bottom left. Wham isn't responding to that. The Scout is going to go down. Dock now on fire. CSO pursuing that one galley all the way back. Galley goes down, so does the dock. CSO, however, does lose his dock as well.
Yeah, that's pretty bad from Wham. I think losing the Scout is something you really want to avoid. It's always doing a little bit of extra damage to the ram, so you can take it down faster, and then you don't have to remake any docks. Sadly for him, he lost it, but he's still gonna win the lake, obviously. It's just like delaying the win, pretty much.
Ram is still alive, but the Spearmen inside were cleaned up. Bugla goes down as well, so Wham is the only one with ships on this pond. Docking attempt was stalled out, though. CSO tried to redock, but he was stopped dead on his tracks. Dock still being bashed down by this ram, but with that first Desert Raider out, Wham is able to repulse that. And with that, Wham is going to secure the pond to the south.
Yeah, and now you have to be careful for the pond on the east for CSO, because he lost the control of the ground. Potentially Wham could bring his army and make a ram to kill the dock. I'm not sure if that's gonna be the plan. I think he's just gonna attack on land to pressure the economy. I mean, I say that he's making a backlash, so maybe he really wants to take the lake. But he could just pressure the land and try to go for a fast castle with IU bits. It's always pretty worse, obviously. You go for Echo Wing and you have 7 more villagers now, since it got nerfed. But it's still a lot of villagers.
No galley there for Wham, so he loses that Bugla, but he does have some land presence now. A couple of archers and Desert Raider moving towards the berries of CSO here. CSO doesn't really have a fishing eco, so he had to go for those berries. Now we'll get repulsed.
Yeah. Ooh, we're gonna lose a villager.
Oh, Desert Raider gets traded, though.
Yeah, it's pretty bad since horsemen are coming. We are aware of that. He's not, since he lost his scout earlier. But right now he's just doing a gamble, right? He's like, yeah, I'm gonna send across my archer. They're not gonna be very useful for any other things. So I'm just gonna send them to try to kill some villagers. Maybe delay the gold. Because he knows right now it's a race to fast castle. So right now you just want to make enough fishing ship on your lake. And you want to put all of the rest of your economy on food and gold. So you can just secure a fast castle.
CSO does get pushed away from the gold for a second here, but I guess the silver lining for him is that he secured the pond to the north. There is a little presence from Wham in the middle, though I'm actually wondering if he went for the berries in the middle. I wonder if the observers can check on that, because I'm curious what that little dot is. It's just a tower for the time being, though.
Yeah, you take a little bit of space. You have the berries for later on, and you can secure the relic this way, kind of. You have a lot of vision from the middle, so you know, like, you can see any run by coming if your opponent is trying to make cavalry. So it's just a little something, you know. It's really nothing big, but it will help.
And tower completes just in time to stop this one horseman. Camel also out there, so CSO is going to have to bail on this. And the first to accumulate the resources needed for Castle Age will be Wham. Let's take a look at how he's aging up. It's going to be growth.
Okay, another duck. That's a little bit weird. I'm not sure really what you want to try to achieve with this. He's gonna force another unit from Wham, I guess, but he's not gonna do anything positive because Wham is already clicked. Maybe he's not aware, right? But you should be aware of it that like you are delayed on the second leg, so you know your opponent is gonna have slightly more economy than you. So he should be able to click like 20 seconds before than you. So considering your freeze timing, you should be aware that Wham is already clicked and that this is delaying his age up, but not his opponent's age up, which is pretty big.
Yeah, advancement is available for CSO, though. He's about to click up in a second. I just want to highlight very quickly as this Bugla just gets annihilated by the demo. CSO managed to sneak a villager all the way to the south. So we could easily see some sneaky production buildings down in that southern corner.
Yeah, but he's gonna be delayed compared to Wham, so it doesn't make really any sense to me. Especially with Abbasid. If he was Ayubid, I would understand why he wants to attack. But with Abbasid,
goes down.
Yeah, a little more of a villager. Plus he made a tower for it, so that's really worse for Wham. Really good start so far.
Yeah, Camel gets taken out in return, but CSO has been losing a couple of villagers, and it looks like it's going to be a proxy barracks. 2 villagers sent out there to build it. But he's going to be more than just a couple of seconds behind in Castle Age timing. He still has a minute to go, whereas Wham is almost up.
Yeah, we're gonna see like if Wham wants to attack instantly, if he wants to pressure the map, or if he wants to just play for the relics as soon as possible. If he does want to play for the relics, he should be able to get 4, I think. He's just too far ahead for now.
Camel still coming out here for Wham, repulsing that one horseman out there, but crucially, Wham has yet to scout those barracks out there, so that could be a nasty surprise. But Castle Age now hits a 4 Wham. He does have a range and a stable. I don't think he has a barracks, but well, he's playing the IO bit, so it's pretty obvious what he's going to play with at the beginning of Castle Age. Camel Lancers on the way.
Yeah, which are good against Gulams, obviously. And I would expect too some crossbow. I think you just blind the fact that your opponent is gonna go for cavalry himself, heavy cavalry. So you just go for crossbow. But Wham is not doing that. He's just going for the good pair, like archer with heavy cavalry. It's always pretty good. But in this case, it's gonna be a weird one. And CSO is starting to make pikes. That's
Yeah, he's
be a
making
very weird rush.
spearmen, no Gulam. Well,
Yeah.
he cannot make Gulam just yet. He just now reached Castle Age. Now he's mixing in some Gulam. How do you feel about making 4 or 5 barracks, though? That's a pretty big commitment from CSO.
I mean, that's CSO, right? He's just gonna all in from the corner of the map. That's very weird, but that's the kind of stuff he does. But like, normally, if Wham is on point, it should really not work. But since he's next to the gold, why not? In the other way, like, you have the gold from Wham here, but you have another one at the opposite side. So it's gonna be safe if he wants to go there. So I'm really not sure what's the plan. Wham is gonna see, like, for now he doesn't know it's full world. He doesn't have a scout on the map, as we said earlier. So he doesn't really know what's happening. But it should be, even if he doesn't know, like, at some point he should be able to defend normally.
Was complete. These Camel Lancers cannot find a way. And a couple of villagers caught on the outside, but they will go unnoticed by Wham. Wham, in the meantime, continuing to play with Camel Lancers, adding some dervishes as well, so he's heading out for the relics. CSO is yet to show his troops. In fact, I think he's hiding his infantry in that stealth forest nearby, so he's really trying to use that element of surprise. He's getting phalanx, he's getting the veterancy for the spearmen as well, but he's yet to show the... Oh! How do you feel about this? A single Gulam showing up. Is this kind of a clue for Wham that there's a proxy here?
I mean, since you have the control of the left, pretty much, he doesn't have a full control, but he pretty much have it. He should be aware that it's a proxy. But I'm really not sure, like, you are sending a lot of pikes with it, but pikes are obviously very easy to kill with TCs. So if you focus them down, it's gonna go down, obviously. And then the rest of the army is just gonna die to lancers and crossbow. So it's a very weird attack. But maybe, who knows?
Well, I mean, if Wham didn't know this was a proxy a couple of moments ago, now he for sure does. Spearmen don't have the... Actually, they do have the veterancy now. They still are missing a couple of upgrades here, but this is definitely a nasty surprise over here for Wham. He gets pushed away from the gold. Camel's also fighting Spearmen here, but the infantry do split up. Quite some idle time forced, but our archers and crossbows are out already in response. Camel Lancers haven't been pulled back though, so Wham, he feels confident about cleaning this up.
Yeah, I mean, it's only 2 spears left already. And he has to macro very well, but he should be safe. Like, he's fighting under TC, he's gonna have crossbow guiding. He should just protect his crossbow with, I mean, his pathing, I guess, and a few camels like he's doing. And he should be totally fine. At the same time, he's pressuring the other side of the map. The door is gonna go down, the gate, and then maybe he's gonna be able to pressure.
Yeah, most of the Spearmen have been cleaned up here, so Camel Lancers will reign supreme. This is a cleanup by Wham. At the same time, Camel Riders were mixed in by CSO to fight the Camel Lancers. Looks like Wham might not have really been watching over there. He's just taking that fight as is. But CSO's proxy here essentially gets cleaned up here. He's reduced to next to no infantry. At the same time, Wham's aggression also does get dealt with. So trade between the camels on the north. But when dust settles, Marine Lord, we have a pretty significant population difference between these two players.
Yeah, I mean, IUB is always like that, right? You just age up and you have your bonus. Abbasid is the opposite. You have to work for your bonus, like you are gonna make a lot of infantry and your infantry bonus is gonna kick in. But if you just age up, it's not gonna do much. Or he's gonna lose 2 villagers on top of it. He's already 20 villagers behind. So it's not only villagers, it's already, it's for sure like some fish on the lake too, I guess. He probably made a lot of fish, but in the end, it's just more economy and map control. He's gonna have relics. He's gonna have pretty much everything and he should be able to win.
Need another small group of infantry moving in. Wham finally finds this proxy base over here. He doesn't have a ramp to take it out with, but it's not like anything is being produced at this point by CSO there. This last group of infantry gets cleaned up, and Wham does have a very formidable army now. As you kind of touched on that, Camel Lancers mixed with archers, mixed with crossbowmen. It's just a composition that's difficult for CSO to deal with.
Yeah. And now, obviously, Wham is gonna have control of the middle, which is pretty much infinite food. And you're gonna start making springhold on the field to actually kill the other lake. So CSO is gonna have to take control of the middle, but I'm really not sure how he's gonna do that. It's gonna be a hard quest.
Yeah, now Wham is just walling in this side over here. Interesting wall placement out there. He just wants to make sure that nothing surprising comes out of those barracks here. A couple of Gulam once again show up here, harassing the villagers. Camels don't seem to care. Wham not really noticing this, costs him a couple of villagers here, but finally he realizes what's going on, so he's gonna pull the villagers away.
Yeah, so what is CSO's gonna do? Like, is he making a lot of stable? What's the plan here? I'm not really sure.
Well, you're asking me?
Yeah, I don't know.
I thought you were the pro player.
I know, but like, I feel like at this point I would be out of the game already. So he must have a plan to come back. I guess he's just making a lot of cavalry and he's gonna try to run by, try to kill the army at the same time, but that's not gonna be easy. I mean, that's a good start, right? If you kill the Mongol.
Yeah, Camel Riders are so expensive though, and CSO's economy is just not great. Oh my lord. That gold mine is more than exposed over here. There's no way he can defend that. He's got no mangonels or anything that deals with the archers. Has to pull away the villagers, 5 villagers trapped inside. And Wham senses blood in the water. There is this gold mine. The wood line could be exposed right after there. And CSO is making a run for it. He's going to lose a couple of villagers there. And I don't think he's got a gate on the left side. I think he just right-clicked these villagers in and they tried to pathfind their way through here. He's lucky not to get intercepted there.
Yeah, surely. He's gonna make one now, but I mean, Wham is covering pretty much every option. He made a lot of archer, he made a lot of crossbow, and he has a good front line. So since he knows his economy is better, he's covering pretty much every option that CSO can go for. And then he's just gonna try to A-move him. And if he plays it well and micros pretty decently, it should be good enough to close out the game.
It looks like Wham is just going to dive over here, targeting production buildings and farms having to be added on a map that has so many berries and so much fish. It's always a sad sight to see. CSO is very, very heavy on stone over here. Bit of a Wololo being attempted here to repulse these Camel Riders. Last-ditch counterattack potentially here by CSO, but it is just to no avail. Even the Dervish is being conscripted to heal this up. Crossbows arrive as well. And CSO looks like he is going to get cleaned up here.
Yeah, it's 7 walled on the left, so Wham is just very safe. And it's gonna be GG, 1-0 for Wham. We did a very good game, I think. I think his draft is a bit better for this map. I think IUB is better than Abbasid. but you still have to play it right, and he played it right, so good job.
Well, there we go. That military value discrepancy that we have here, it just goes to show how big of an advantage Wham started to build once he reached Castle Age. What was the turning point in this game? What was the deciding moment that put Wham in the driver's seat?
I think once you win the first leg, you have a small edge. So you see, CSO won the second leg, and it was almost okay. But I think at the best level in the world, if you just win the first leg, you have enough to snowball the game and win the game normally. So I think Wham just played good enough that he snowballed pretty well, and he just killed him from this position.
Well, that puts Whammo 1 in the driver's seat, and that's a much-needed victory because, just looking back to last week, for instance, Wham was very much in the danger of being knocked down to the lower bracket there. He had a very tight set played against Cat, ended up winning in the decider game 3-2. Whereas CSO is coming out of a very good set against Vortex, winning 3-1. So, going into the set, CSO carried all that momentum from that previous set. Whereas for Wham, he needed to look back at this set saying, okay, not everything went as I hoped it would. So yeah, Wham securing this #1 win, it's a big one for him, right?
It's a pretty big matchup, so yeah, it's a big one. And now we're gonna have another big matchup, right? Rus against Byzantine is pretty close, so winning this one is actually pretty big if you end up winning it. It's not like sometimes you end up having some uneven matchups, and you're really like, okay, I really cannot lose this kind of match. Here, it's pretty even, so it's pretty open. And I'm not sure actually, yeah, maybe I would prefer to play Rus in this case. I think it's a little bit harder to play, but if you play it perfectly, I think Rus is slightly better. But at this level, like we all make small mistakes, so I don't think this small edge is really gonna matter.
Well, I mean, one of the key elements of Rus gameplay, though, is collecting bounties. So, I really want to hear your thoughts about that because obviously, as we have a Rus versus Byzantine matchup over here, we also have Rus available for Wham, by the way, so we might have a second Rus game on our hands. But, I think this is a good time to just hear your thoughts about bounty. How many scouts you have to make, how much bounty do you want to get, those kinds of things.
I mean, obviously from Rus you want at least 3 scouts, but I'm not sure, like, as Byzantine, like, do you really make 2? I guess most of the people would say yes, but I feel like Byzantine don't really care about the amount of sheep usually. So it's one of the civ where, like, every time I'm trying to play against Rus, I'm really not sure if I should go for 1 or 2. I think it's still a question up in the air, but I guess he will make 2. And I mean, on Arabia, I guess you aim for like 250 bounty. I think it's pretty decent. You just want enough to make wheelbarrow and still have enough to age up, obviously. That's the minimum. So usually that tends to be like 180, I think. 190 to have this kind of bounty. Anything else above is fine. And below it's kinda hard, I think.
Yeah, but I mean, it happens sometimes. I'm sure it happened to you as well when you didn't manage to get the appropriate amount of bounty.
Yeah. I mean, it was a different map, right? It was the pit. The pit has a little bit of hunt issues, but on Arabia, usually you tend to get a good amount, so...
Well, we have still 90 seconds left to go before game #2. So this is a good time to take a look at the brackets, though, because I think one of the things that we haven't had the time to touch on just yet is that if you win your set here in the winner's bracket, you're already qualified for next weekend. You're done playing for this weekend here.
Yeah, and on top of that, you have a free win next week. You're gonna play against most likely Beastie. So you're pretty much already in the decider final. That's amazing, no?
Yep, indeed. Indeed, as you see here on the brackets, Beastie versus Baltoon, the winner of that set will face off the winner of this set. Elsewhere in the brackets, Puppy Paw is facing off against Louis Empty, an absolute banger of a set there as well. And Anaton does have the lead versus Lucifron as well. So Anaton looking very powerful after taking out Zerton 3-1, whereas Lucifron, now he is behind by 1 point.
Yeah, don't say that though. Anaton is way too cocky right now, so we have to say he's pretty bad.
Meanwhile, players in the lower bracket are awaiting their opponents. The players that do lose their sets here in the winner's bracket will be facing off against these folks down here. Dimu specifically is going to face off against Lucifron or Antend, whereas we also have Vortex, Killjari, and Zerton awaiting their opponents.
That's a pretty hard loser bracket already. Like, Dimu against Anaton or Lucifron, and then the winner takes on maybe Vortex. I'm not sure who he's gonna meet, so it's gonna be hard.
And there we go. One of the cool things that we have in many events, player cards out here, the players participating still in the event have rated each other. Is there any major takeaway that you want to highlight, in terms of the skills and style of these players?
I'd say usually it's the creativity in CSO's drafts that makes a weird difference. But for now, he's being a very normal player in this series. Other than that, I think they are both pretty good players all around. They're not the best in anything, but they're just pretty solid overall. So I don't know. I think Wham is more defensive. I think CSO is more the aggressive player. But they can do it both, like it really depends on the matchup and what they play. So it's not really a real metric,
And here we go. We have game number 2 on our hands here. CSO with the color yellow as the Rus, Wham with the Byzantines in red once again. This is Marine Lord joining me here in the winner's bracket of the Red Bull Wololo El Reinado. And of course, we touched on this in the pregame. It's imperative that you get that key bounty for the Rus out there. It looks like it's going to be a 3 scout opening for CSO. So really nothing out of the ordinary so far.
Yeah, but Wham only made 1 scout. So he's deciding to potentially lose a lot of bounty since, let his opponent have a lot of bounty, right? Because he's not losing anything himself. It's more like he's gifting stuff to his opponent, that is ship and bounty, obviously. But obviously a villager at the start, like having 1 more villager is pretty valuable. So I'm not sure like if the deal is worth it or not. But I guess Wham decided it's worth it.
So how does this matchup usually play out? Because this is one of the rarely seen competitive matchups. Ever since Byzantines were released, Rus were so frequently banned in tournaments that you just rarely see this Civilization matchup in tournaments.
Yeah, I think Rus is so good defensively that you have to open 2 TC as a Byzantine. I think you just go longbow, because anything else is pretty hard. You can also go Keshix, because it tends to be a 2 TC into Fast Castle matchup. And usually in this case, having some free knights is obviously very valuable for securing relics all around. But longbows are obviously very valuable on the long run. Plus land snakes and stealthy later on are very good. So I guess, it can depend. You can also check the market next to Wham's base, seeing if there is any good choice. Maybe he could go for knights or like Sipai if it's an option.
That's a good touch indeed. He's got War Elephants and Chukenu to work with. What do you make out of that?
Nah, you don't really use that. It's too slow. Like you prefer longbow. It's as slow as Zugeno, but it's a bit better, and it fits with Limitanei a bit better, I think. So usually, I think this choice is pretty useless.
Still some wolves to be found over here, as CSO is aging up with 6 vills on the Kremlin. Other side, it's going to be the Grand Winery on those forward berries. Love the Kremlin placement. I don't know if you agree with me, because one thing I've just looked at here for CSO's map, he's got all of his gold, except for that one at the very, very western corner of the map. He's got most of his close gold on the front, and the same goes for the stone.
Yeah, it's a fine placement for sure. I wonder where the second TC is gonna go though. Do you go on like the deer, which is pretty far away from your main TC, so you can like have more food, but in the end it's not really safe on the right? Or do you go for safe TC maybe on gold or like wherever you want, and maybe on berries? I feel like his food is gonna be pretty hard to defend. Like both deer pack are ahead of his base, the boar is up top, and then the berries are obviously not what you want to harvest at the start because it's too low gathering rate. So I'm not sure how he's gonna play around that.
That's a good point that you're bringing up. Simply the fact that you have that deer pack on the other side of the forest makes it fairly difficult to defend. So remains a question where CSO is going to place his second TC. Now, Wham does have a decent amount of stone in the bank, but he's not mining anymore, so it looks like it's going to be just the standard 1 TC opening from him.
Yeah.
So far, it's just wheelbarrow, and I'm a little surprised about this. CSO still being able to find wolves. We're in Feudal Age for like a minute or so. He's done a really good job collecting bounty, whereas Wham wasn't really able to deny much from him.
Yeah, you can't really do a lot with 1 scout. You just kill the deer pack that you find, and then you try to go for a lot of sheep, because wolves you're not going to be able to get any kills. So it's not really that surprising, you going pro scouts. That's a little bit wild.
Okay. Okay, pro scouts. Now that's an interesting opening. Not something that you very commonly see. It used to be a big meta thing back in the very OG days of AoE4, but ever since then it kind of lost its intrigue. But when you have your food so far away, it's an interesting choice,
Yeah.
especially because Wham doesn't really have a lot of mobility, right? He's opening Limitani. As you kind of highlighted, he might go longbows. So CSO might be able to take multiple deer packs here without problems.
I mean, it's gonna be weird, right? Because Wham is gonna try to push. I mean, at least put some pressure on, and then he's gonna age up most likely. But I really wonder what can you really pressure here? Like, do you pressure gold, I guess? But it's pretty close to the Kremlin, So longbows should be able to do pretty well on the gold. At the same time, there is a gold on the back of his base, so if he wants to hold it off, he can totally do that. I'm really not sure it's gonna be a weird game.
Mercenary House on the way here for Wham. He's grabbing a couple of Limitani as well. Town Center will finish without any issues. CSO is still only just 3 scouts though, despite grabbing professional scouts over here. And it looks like he's yoinking the deer all the way to the north. He's taking the long way around.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, to be fair, like, if I see second TC, I will never, ever expect pro scouts. So, it kind of makes sense to steal your opponent food at first. I don't really get the second TC positioning though. Like, why don't you just cover the gold? It feels like it should be a bit better. He's gonna cover the wood more, but like I feel like the wood is already very well covered from the position of the wood itself plus the Kremlin. So I'm really not sure.
Yeah, that's a great point that you're raising. Indeed, that second town center feels kind of redundant with that Kremlin placement, and you can see Wham is looking for CSO to move out for the deer. But well, guess what? He doesn't see CSO moving out because CSO is doing something totally different. He is ferrying in deer carcasses from the other side. Wham only has 1 scout, so I don't think Wham has realized that his deer is being stolen.
No, for sure he doesn't know. He's gonna be aware very soon, but for now he doesn't know. He's making a few longbows. He only made 2 Limitanite to defend potential knights. But since it's 2 TC is aware, it's pretty useless now, but he had to make a few before he had the information. He's gonna make a few farms and he's just gonna go age up, try to secure relics, and potentially pressure his opponent from there.
The Miku upgrades being focused on by CSO. He does levy 2 of the militia out there. He's sending it out potentially to harass the gold mine, or just to push away these Limitani, because apparently Limitani found what CSO is all about. He started yoinking that deer, and now Wham is having none of that.
Yeah. Let's see what he wants to do with his longbow. Is he gonna be confident enough to cross the map? Or is he gonna just stay at home and wait for the age up? I'm really not sure. Because I'm not sure what they are doing with it. Like, it's not really useful, I think. Just feels like you're wasting 50 food.
Yeah, he pulled 2 more militias out there. So he pulled 2 militias, he got cleaned up immediately, pulled additional 2 militias. Now he's starting to mix in some archers, also started to make some knights, as Wham on the other side is already aging up the Castle Age with the Golden Horn Tower.
Yeah, I think you are spending too much money on your economy as CSO. You made a second TC, you are making all the eco upgrades. You cannot really go fast castle with it, or you're gonna die to Wham free units, aka longbows. And overall, like, he's just gonna be faster to the age up since you are spending a lot. I think he's just gonna have to stick to feudal a bit. He's gonna have to make knights and archer, and try to defend whatever is coming. So most likely Limitanei, longbows, and man at arms. And obviously, if you micro very well, archer against Limitanei and against longbows, you should be fine. But man at arms are gonna be a problem, so you add some knights to your composition to deal with this. If you have enough, normally you can kind of work with that, but that might be hard in this case.
Well, longbows posturing in front of CSO's base already, supported by some Limitani, so that knight isn't able to intercept any troops. And look at this. As you kind of highlighted, CSO is going to wall off this corner for extra safety here, but he already evacuated that gold mine at the front, had to go for the one all the way back in this corner.
Yeah, and he's gonna wall off a 1 relic, which is better than nothing, I guess. You're scared of your opponent getting 5 relics, so having 1 walled off is better than nothing.
Now he's piling up resources for Castle Age himself. Indeed, walls will complete just in time. Wham is already up to CsOH though. I don't know if he's got a Monk out already. It looks like not yet, so he's yet to start collecting relics himself.
Yeah, I think you go for... You spend your first gold on like the upgrade for longbows, and then you make a few prelate to start collecting relics. I guess you aim for 4 and then you go for sacred sites. And then I'm really not sure, like, do you go second TC eventually? Or do you just simply all in? You could potentially all in because the first TC, I mean the second TC is in a pretty bad spot. So that could be a target.
Oh. Longbows now crossing the map over here. Veterancy is yet to hit for them. Veterancy coming in for the Limitani now. It's quite a lot of Limitani when CS only has one knight, although, to be fair, CSO basically has no army out there. Just one knight, 2 archers, rushing up CsOH now with 21 villagers on the high trade house.
Yeah, to make archers and knights. So it's gonna be a weird dynamic where he's gonna keep making units that needs more upgrades and needs more time to actually fight, since like your opponent have just more than you. You cannot just go out with this kind of composition. Obviously you still have knights, so you're gonna have some mobility to potentially kill, like, I mean, economy, you can kill some monks, but it's gonna be hard to defend your opponent's push if he really wants to commit to like anything. A ram push maybe?
How do you feel about this high trade house placement though? Because it's right across the wall and your opponent has a bunch of longbows. You will have villagers on the deer nearby, near the high trade house. Isn't this a dangerous placement here for CSO?
I mean, you're not... It's kind of annoying, right? But I don't think you care too much about the first few deals. You have too much economy under your TC anyway. Maybe you can even pro-scout those deals, who knows? I don't know, like this guy is crazy, so he could do that. But I don't think that's a big talking point for now. But eventually, when you run out of berries, I think it's gonna be a talking point if Wham is camping here.
And for now, he's just torching his way through the walls, also sending out some monks to pick up relics. He's yet to grab one. Does have 11 Limitani now, as well as 15 longbows. CSO trying to go heavy on the archer department, and now Wham himself is dropping that second TC. Will be scouted immediately by CSO scout.
Yeah, I think that's a bit early, but that's fine if you can secure all the relics. But if he starts being a little bit lazy, for example, the relic at the north is really not defended for now, but soon it will be. That could be a fighting point for his opponent. He could just send a few knights and a few archers and try to sneak in the relic. That could be pretty annoying for Wham. Okay.
Breakthrough through the walls does happen over here. A lot of harassment potential. Longbows cannot fire over the forest because, guess what? Wham doesn't have line of sight out there. Knight moves in, tries to harass the gold miners here from Wham. He's unable to take any villagers out just yet. We didn't have a single villager kill in this game so far.
Yeah, I mean, CSO logged his base very well. Plus he has pro scouts, so it's not really surprising. And Wham obviously is defending pretty well, he has more, so it's pretty easy to defend normally. I wonder what he's gonna do with his big army.
He's yet to build any rams. He's just kind of posturing in front of the enemy base here. Walking out for the relics, has got 2 coming back home. He's capturing the sacred sites as well. Ooh, this could be a juicy target. There's so many lumberjacks here from CSO exposed.
Yeah, CSO is running around with a lot of his economy since a while. That can be a bit dangerous, right? Because you have 20 more villagers working, it's amazing. But since there are a lot of idle, and your opponent's economy is boosted by just Cistern and Byzantine bonus, it's not that good. You're not like that ahead in reality. Oh my god, this relic is actually pretty big.
Oh, nope. That is a big nope out there. I mean, I value how CSO tried to yoink a relic from the other side of the map, but that just didn't happen.
Yeah, he didn't play it very well though. He just went straight up like to his base with it, and he knew there was an army in between. So he just forgot about it, I guess. But he could have secured this relic for sure, I think, if he played it well.
Teardrop shields now coming in here. Big upgrade for Wham for those Limitani. And at the same time, CSO is making a pivot into men-at-arms. He's been slowly building up his archer numbers as well. And I think one of the big things to look out for here is that Wham hasn't really seen the size of CSO's army just yet. He saw the production buildings, but he doesn't really know how many units CSO has, right?
And he doesn't really have any information about what he's making, you know? Like, he's making men-at-arms and some archer, which is kind of surprising. You don't have any mobility with this army. You're just gonna be good at fighting, and it's not gonna be that good against longbows, right? It's just gonna be slightly good. So, a bit of a weird comp, I think, from CSO.
Well, now he finds out about this army over here. CSO still looking to contest that relic. 3 relics have been picked up by Wham, though. There's one behind the walls of CSO. That's a no-go for him. But it looks like he is going to secure this 4th relic over here. He's got a massive army. And now he's also mixing in some Landsknechte. He's adding a bunch of Varangians. His army is just going to be so much bigger.
I mean, the army being bigger is fine if your economy is slightly bigger as Rus and you can defend. So it's really gonna depend on that. Maybe he's gonna start making some siege too to force the game to go into late game. And usually that's where the game tends to be pretty even. In mid-late game, I still like Byzantine because like the army is just very good and pretty cheap. But I think it's when you get to H4, you already have a fighting chance.
Now CSO is looking to mix in horsemen. He's grabbing the veterancy for them. 5 horsemen queued up as well. He's starting to deplete that gold mine at the back of his base, so he's going to have to start thinking about that. Once it's gone, he's got not a lot of safe gold to work with.
I'm not sure what's the game plan for Wham now. Is he gonna go just like try to take control Sacred Site and spend a lot of money in his army? Or is he gonna go to just fast Imperial, try to get the good upgrades going in? And obviously like you can get the siege at the Imperial Edge. It's a very good siege from, I mean you have the French cannon, you have a nest of bees, which are the 2 very good options because the Wee power is not very used, obviously it's not the best for now. Maybe it's gonna get buffed someday. But those
I'm
2
sad
options
it's
are
not
actually very
being
good.
used.
Yeah, I tried once against like a Great Wallars and I was pretty disappointed. It was very like slow to take it down. So I was like, okay, let's not use this unit anymore. It's not gonna be very interesting to try to use it, sadly.
Wham himself going for a couple of wars over here, so game has stalled out a tiny bit. Neither of the players really committing their army, just doing that small build-up. Both of them now in the middle of a farm transition. CS up to 2,000 food per minute. On the other side, Wham is at a comfy and cozy 1,300 for the time being. Still making a bunch of longbows though, but now he's got support from a lot of Varangians. Has a couple of Landsknechte out there as well. Blacksmith upgrades also looking pretty much neck and neck. So what's next here? Are you just racing to Imperial at this point?
I think Wham, you can start controlling the gold of your opponent. You know his main gold is behind his base, so it's gonna be dead soon. And he's gonna have to work with the front gold up next. So that's a good fighting point I think for Wham. But he seems to go back right now, so I'm really not sure. Maybe he's just going imp.
Well, CSO is looking for a breach over here as Wham is just busy picking up those sacred sites. Needs to be careful with that overchop. But indeed, Wham is now piling up resources. He's going to be up to 2,000 food in a minute. He's a little slow accumulating the gold he needs for Imperial, though, so that's going to hinder his progress a little. Gold income in general is very low for both of these players.
Yeah, I mean CSO he knows like his gold is not safe anymore. He's gonna have to fight for it. So maybe, I mean I was about to say maybe he's gonna harvest some stone to actually go for a castle on it. But he doesn't seem to have any stone, so I guess his goal is just to make a big army to try to contest the middle. And then you can start taking the gold from the middle, so that's a plan too. It can work.
Yeah, his army is now bigger than Wham's. He's mixing in more and more horsemen. Wham stopped producing Limitani. He's only got 16 of them, and now CSO is going heavy on the cavalry. He's got Boyar's Fortitude coming in as an upgrade. And there is a lot of food in the woody code for CSO to back this up, so he can really mass produce these horsemen so quickly.
Yeah, he can, but I think horseman at this point in the game doesn't have the same value in terms of fighting. You just like them to run by. So it's kind of a weird one because it's in the army graph obviously, but it's not real army in my opinion. It's just like stuff you want to attack your opponent's economy with. But army-wise, I still think Wham is a little bit higher. I think just longbow, when you don't have any mangonels, is a bit too good. I think CSO, if he really wants to take any fights, he's gonna have to make a few mangonels. And he doesn't have any so far, so I think he's just gonna try to harass left to right.
Timing push coming up here. Wham wants to go into Imperial. CSO moving up with his army just in time. However, there are a couple of fortified outposts at the front of Wham's base. But there is also an overchop, so I guess all these walls, they account for absolutely nothing, as we do have a breach to the north as well. Wham's attention being stretched and his base is being flooded from multiple directions.
Yeah, it's already a problem for Wham. I think he can split his army a bit better and he doesn't expect his opponent to have such a big army on both sides. So maybe he was like not expecting this kind of push. I don't think it's that scary on the paper because we know how big the army is really. But for Wham, that is a bit in the dark, he just sees units from everywhere, and he doesn't really know like if it's a bigger army or not.
Well, the Mangonel emplacement is definitely working towards reducing the size of that army. Some beautiful Mangonel shots from the tower. The army to the north, it's mostly being cleaned up, but it's also pulling away the forces of Wham. Wham doubling down on this Castle Age positioning. Decides not to go up to Imperial just yet. He needs to defend. CSO rallying his troops to the front, though. I think this is where Wham is realizing that this army is huge because there's a second wave behind this.
Yeah, it's huge, but the quality of Wham's army with so many longbows should be able to do okay against it. Plus, he has a few towers, and we all know those towers are a little bit broken, the Mogonel one. So it's obviously extremely valuable in your defense. He's still gonna click. He's gonna click up, and once he gets longbows upgraded, it's gonna be a very different story, I think.
Fort Engineering Company on the way, being rushed by 28 villagers, fortified tower at the front, getting taken out, and this is a good cleanup as well. No crossbows, no men-at-arms in this army, just pure archers. Varangians doing a good job chasing them down. There is just battles all across the map, really. Small groups of units skirmishing from both sides. And it looks like CSO is getting repulsed for the time being. Wham is going to be able to reach Imperial in safety.
Yeah, he doesn't have enough gold yet to click any upgrades. But obviously you still have the first upgrade from longbow that comes for free, thanks to the H4 building. So now he has the attack speed bonus on them, which is obviously a little bit broken. It's one of the best upgrades in the game. I mean, he just has a decent size army, right, one, so he can kind of defend normally. And CSO is closing on Imperial, I think. He just wants to click as soon as possible.
Elite upgrade coming in for the Varangians over here, but Wham only has a handful of Varangians out there. His longbows aren't being upgraded just yet, and that's essentially his entire army. 80% of his army is just longbows. They've yet to be upgraded. Horsemen now break into his base as well. Wham doesn't really have a lot of mobility to chase this down with, and CSO is finding more and more breaches into the base of Wham to do eco damage with.
Yeah, and as you said, Wham just spent his monies on like a pretty... I mean, it's a good upgrade, right? But right now you don't have a lot of Varangian guards, and it's not the core of your main army. So I feel like you really want to upgrade longbow more than that. And then maybe you even want to get a university and spend the next gold on the archer upgrade on university. I'm not sure what's the name in English, my bad.
Spaskaya Tower now coming in here from CSO. The aggressive positioning, it's all the way in the middle of the map, only being built by 10 villagers, but if it goes up, it's going to secure this large gold for CSO. And, you know, we've been talking about the gold situation for CSO for a while. It's kind of the opposite now. It's a Wham whose gold is constantly being harassed and pushed.
Yeah, oh my god, the Spaskaya Tower. It's really next to Wham's army. I don't think he's aware. He sees it now, but he doesn't really see it, I think.
Yeah, he doesn't have a scout nearby. These units all have very, very small line of sight. Oh, he actually does have vision on this, but I think he's gonna be too late.
No, yeah. He's gonna try to defend the one by at the top, and he's gonna send an army in his opponent's economy. So I mean, that's a good idea. If you can deal damage with it, that can actually do very well. And he's doing a whip, oh! That's pretty
Yeah,
funny.
you just said you don't like that unit, and I just looked at the top of the screen. Indeed, Wei Pao is coming out for Wham. And as much as that was an overchop from Wham, there is one from CSO as well. Wham can just easily march into the enemy base. Both players having a lot of harassment in their economy.
Yeah, it's not doing nothing, as we see like 12 villagers going down on each side. Oh my god, he's got so many gremlins. But in the end, it's still some damage, so it's always pretty useful to kill your opponent's economy, obviously.
Indeed, Militia will clean this up with the support of Horsemen. Overall population still looking a lot better over here for CSO. And he's yet to get the elite upgrade for these Horsemen. That is just now finishing.
Yeah, I guess you want to aim for the crossbow upgrade, because you already have 40. And then you want your Horseman upgrades. That's a two priority. Because
Bit of a tower race over here.
Yeah.
But yeah, just look at that gold mine at the very edge of the map for Wham. That is behind 2 layers of walls and it's still being harassed. That is how chaotic this game is.
Yeah, it's his last very safe gold, and then he's gonna have to fight for it on the map.
Where is that Wei Pao? I'm just interested in looking at it.
Too. But I'm quite sure he's gonna be disappointed. I mean, it's kind of the
No,
same
but
case,
it looks
right?
so
Like,
good.
he's fighting a Sky Tower, so it's a very big castle, and you really want to take it down. But I think you just make a few French cannon, and it's gonna be better than that. So yeah, it's I mean, we're gonna see, right? Maybe we're wrong, and it's gonna kill it pretty fast. Who knows?
Well, you need an army to defend it as well. Looks like walls are once again being reconstructed. Both players having banged up on their armies, down to just 50 military. First nest of bees out there. Looks like Longbows will report this army to the north. Mobility is still a big factor here, though, for CSO. It does have a new wave of horsemen coming out. Bombardment placement on this tower already here for Wham. He's got the Wei Pao firing from the backline as one. He's queuing up a second one.
No.
That probably wasn't a misclick then. It was intentional.
No, it was intentional for sure, but I'm not buying it, you know? Like, I don't think it's actually worth the price. We'll see, right? Because
Well,
I think you three-shot a wooden fortress, which is not too bad, but you still have to work for so long to kill a castle, and it's obviously not safe. You have to defend it like a normal trebuchet. So, I'm not sure. Maybe it's gonna make it work, right? Because like if you actually make it fight for a while, it's gonna be worse in the long run. The problem is to defend it, obviously.
well, here comes the Wei Pao, supported by some nest of bees. Varangians being mixed in still by Wham. He's still heavy on the longbows too. At the same time, CSO does have this nice little positioning, and there we go.
No.
I mean, we're going to get what you've kind of touched on a couple of moments ago. How well is that Wei Pao going to do against the Spasskaya Tower?
Nah. Do you feel like it's doing enough? I feel like it kills it too slow.
I guess the silver lining is that you can fire from behind those trees from a long range, so it's a little more difficult for CSO maybe to snipe that siege weapon. But as I'm saying that if the longbows don't pay attention to the horsemen, these Wei Pao will be too short-lived.
Yeah. Focusing nest of bees first to make sure like stealthies are safe. Makes sense. I mean, he's defending it pretty easily right now with like the wood line and the little stone mine. It's useful to defend it.
Leviers have been levied to repair the castle for the time being, but look at this, CSO still looking to pressure that gold mine. A single Streltsy also helping out here. We're seeing more and more Streltsy appear on the field for CSO. He does have 2,000 gold to burn, so you really can afford this mix of horsemen and Streltsy very easily.
Yeah, a few bombards, he's gonna make a few mangonels. And eventually, like, if he plays it well, he should be able to pressure his opponents more. Like, he has 20 more villagers. Obviously, relic count is not perfect, it's 4-1, but I don't think Wham is really gonna have a real late game to play for if CSO keeps pressuring the map like that.
Wham has been losing eco left and right. 35 eco lost versus just 16 on the other side. Wham, though, getting a lead infantry tactics for his infantry. Both the big gold mines are under the control of CSO, though. So right now, Wham's only legitimate gold mine is the one that's still being harassed at the very east of the map.
Yeah, and even his food economy is not really safe. A lot of run-bys, left to right. It doesn't have any stone wall, obviously. It didn't have time to make any. Biology is coming for CSO. That's gonna be very helpful to make your cavalry way better on run-bys. That's gonna be a pretty hard hold for him. I think it's doable, but it's gonna be a pretty hard one, and he's gonna have to be very precise.
Oh my, I mean, that just tells you the whole story. Wham has to build a wall to keep the cavalry in his base so his villagers can flee to the outside. At the same time, those Wei Pao are now being focused down by 2 bombards and a bunch of cavalry. First one goes down, second one is being targeted, but nothing to protect those bombards. So CSO is just gonna pull back.
Yeah, Mangonel coming too. He's making another bombard. So this guy doesn't want to make any spring gold. It's useless. He's just gonna kill everything with bombards. So I guess it's working for so far, so why not, right? It's really working.
These horsemen, they're just a menace, really. Killing so many villas, Varangians struggling to catch up with them. No front line at the main battlefield, I guess, for CSO, though. Mangonel gets picked off. Streltsy, though, hiding behind the forest, just butchering all these Varangians coming in.
Yeah, CSO is playing pretty well now. Like, I don't know, he doesn't make any big blunder. He's just playing the map pretty well. He obviously gambled pretty high, like the Spasskaya Tower. It was a pretty big gamble to put it that far on the map. But it worked, and since then he's not doing any mistakes, so he's actually doing very, very good on the map.
CSO now in the driver's seat here. He's got a 70 population lead. Chemistry is on the way. He's got 30 Streltsy, 30 horsemen on the field as well. And he does have that sacred site countdown ticking too. So as much as he's down 4-1 in relics, he does have all 3 sacred sites.
Yeah. it doesn't have enough tight bound, I think, Wham, so in the end, it's just literally an even gold count. Okay, it's making a castle to make sure he can secure the extra gold, which is very smart. But he's not gonna really retake anything else, right? He's just taking a little bit of space for a while, and then CsO is gonna push this point, I think, and he's gonna be able to break it because he has already 4 bombards. So it's gonna go down very fast, I think.
Streltsy now moving up at the front of Wham's base, and Wham is making almost exclusively Varangians at this point. He's down to just 12 crossbow, or 12 longbows, I should say. Varangians against 30 Streltsy, that feels like a recipe for disaster.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, like Wham, it's just a very hard position to play from, so he's just trying his best, he's making a good army, and he's trying to secure spot by spot, but in the end, he's still taking damage on the right. His food economy is still not safe. His wood economy is like nowhere safe, right? He has to run from right to left. And his gold, as we've seen, it's just up front, but a few bombards are gonna do the job. And CsO is gonna make it 1-1.
And there we go. CsO convincing game. Again, military value just tells you the whole story. Ever since minute 14, CsO always had the army value lead. He was the second player to reach Imperial Age. Wham actually beat him to it, but there was that one big strike just when Wham was about to age up, and you felt like from that point onwards, things just didn't go as planned for Wham.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't really get his plan. As I said, like early in the game, I feel like in this matchup, usually I tend to go 2DC against 2TC, because if I don't, I feel like that's what's happening. Your opponent goes second TC, he gets like 20 extra villagers, then you get more relics, but just the few extra villagers are doing too much for the rest of the game. So yeah, you can make a second TC for yourself at some point, but it feels like you're just a little bit behind the whole game. And since it's against Rus, it's not against the bad late game siege, right? Rus is pretty good, so if your opponent is snowballing very well, I feel like it's just hard to recover from.
Well, that means we get deep into the series. Welcome back to the panel, folks. Giraffe getting ready for game number 3. And, just to dissect that a little bit more, Marine Lord, we mentioned this going into this series that Wham leans a bit more defensive, CsO is a bit more aggressive. Do you think this is the type of game where, as the Byzantine player, when you see that type of opening, you need to be the attacker?
I mean, if you want to go for 1 TC, yeah, you have to attack for sure. I think one thing you could have done better, the second TC from CsO was exposed the whole game, and if you are like normally aware of how the game works exactly, you know as Byzantine, even if you go second TC, you're gonna have more armies than your opponent, so you can maybe like just go mass limit an A, click the TC, or just go 1 or 2 rams and click it, and then if your opponent have to remake a second TC later on, then you can have a pretty fair game, because you're gonna have your second TC working, and he is gonna be down. So in this case, maybe you can catch up, but if your opponent's second TC is never going down, I think you're just slightly behind the whole game, and it's pretty hard to wheel.
One thing I want to pick your brain on actually is in that late game. I've seen a lot of players doing this in the late game. They stick to the Varangian, even though that comp felt perfect for a Limitane switch. In fact, that game was even weirder because usually you can't win in the siege battle, right? But potentially that's an option there. Do you think a lot of the time Byzantine players just hang on to Varangian for too long?
I mean, I think I would go Limitane for sure. So I think that would have been better in this case. But the problem is still you're fighting for gold spots all over the map, and you're gonna have less siege than your opponents. Your siege upgrade are gonna be very costful, and it's just gonna be a fight of siege if you do that, I think. Because you don't really have any power in your army. You have longbows that are secured with a front line that is Limitane, so you can easily defend, but you cannot really pressure the map. And then it's just very hard to retake position on the map. So I think you have to find a way to have an even economy against your opponent, which he didn't. And then you can work from that point where you can just have an even position, play siege battle, play castle war, and just fight.
Now, talking of equal situations here, both of them got Rus in the draft lead. I'm already noticing people asking what the hell happened here. We have an interesting rule set here for Wololo where that is actually feasible, right? You can actually get a mirror matchup even if you both open the same pick, but it's not going to be a mirror here. We get ready soon for game number 3, and quickly talk me through this, Litter. Look at these stats, right? Is there anything that maybe you think is more baity going into this? Like looking at Wham, looking at CsO, these stats actually add up so far?
I think so, they do. This is a very competitive set, and I expect a very competitive game number 3 here as well, KP, as we head into Holy Island. CSO this time around with the color blue instead of the color yellow. And on the other side, Wham is going to be once again in command of the Rus in red. Once again, joining me is going to be Marine Lord, who is definitely having a fun time so far observing potential opponents for the LAN in Spain.
Yeah, it's been. I mean, I didn't expect a very close series. I believed Wham will win pretty easily, but this second game was very competitive, and I think CSO played very well. So I actually expect this game. This best of 5, to go 3-2 now.
Doc's already up over here. This is a big game for both. CSO, as a reminder, is coming off of a win against the Vortex in a previous round, 3-1, whereas Wham, he lost to, or he actually won against Cat, but that was in a decider game, 3-2. So, so far we've seen a pretty closely matched set, right?
Yeah, it's very close, very, very close. Very competitive. Game 1, I think, was won by strategy from Wham. And second game, I think, was actually won by strategy too. But then he snowballed very well. So it was a mix of better strategy and good skills. So what do you think of this matchup, Lee, d'accord? Rus against Zush?
I mean, you're the pro player, so you probably have better insights than I do. But again, I think the main thing I would touch on is that this is a somewhat unexplored matchup because Rus gets banned so often in tournaments. We've seen Jushi being a very beloved civilization in hybrid maps like this, including Holy Island. And Rus, I presume it would be a frequently picked civilization if it wasn't banned in so many tournaments.
Yeah, it's broken on this map for sure. I think if you play really perfectly, like as good as possibly you can, like when I'm in my top shape, that's what I would expect from myself. I think when I play Rus on this map, I'm gonna win all the time. I think it's just slightly better than everyone else, that if you play perfectly, you're just gonna win. But if you just do one tiny mistakes, or you don't use one of the Rus assets very well, it's gonna be an even game, because it's just like, Zushi is a very good sieve on this map, Rus is broken too, but if you play it on a pretty even level, and you make a few mistakes here and there, I think it's a pretty close matchup.
Well, the Jushi will love that resource spawn that you so commonly have on this map. Meditation Gardens can look amazing on this map, whereas on the other side, of course, you do have the Kremlin for the Rus, giving you a much-needed wood boost, which is always welcome when you have this naval combat element there. But the thing I wanted to ask you about is this map generation in particular. We have a map spawn where the players don't spawn with the forest at the front of their base. How different? Wait a minute, that's a transport ship. Okay, let's talk about this though, because I'm curious about your insights on this. Transport ship, obviously something that you can push up and then convert to a combat ship. How do you feel about the efficiency of that?
I mean, it's a pretty fast boat, so I guess, normally it's worse to do it as the second boat. I think it's fine. And since his build is really, really fast feudal, it makes sense, right? It's not like he's doing it like a slower way, where you can just try to aim for a better economy as Rus. He's just going for the very cheesy one, so that's a fine way to do it.
Well, here is the conversion coming up. CSO's just now starting to build his landmark, the Meditation Garden, so really this early Lodya Galley out there is going to do a lot. And guess what? CSO has to rush his landmark with 10 villagers. That's not something that you very commonly see.
Yeah, 10, and in the bad spot. Okay, he's gonna lose a fishing ship already, that's pretty bad. Oh! Yeah.
There we go. Last second snipe out here from the galley. A lot of damage done here by Wham. Idling out all the fishing boats, taking out one as well. And this is only the first galley to look at. Though there is no second combat ship coming out from Wham just yet. He just now queued up his first demo.
Ooh, that's pretty big. I don't think that's a good idea. I think I would rather see him making a Hulk or not make any army units for now. I think you either go economy or you make a Hulk. I think Demo is a big gamble. If your opponent goes for Archer, you have like an extra ship that doesn't really do anything. And he's making an Archer for now, as we can see. So now he's gonna have 2 fighting ships, but he's not gonna be doing anything. He could have an extra fishing ship right now and have a better economy than... Oh, okay.
Ooh.
I'm not saying anything. That's very good what he's doing.
It's because transport ships don't show up as part of the military at the very top, so we didn't see that transport ship being sent around to convert into into a Hulk, essentially. So now he's got a galley, he's got a Hulk, and a demo ship as well, once again posturing in front of CSO's base. First War Junk is yet to come out.
Yeah, now that makes a lot of sense. You have all three kind of units, and you can really pressure the water from your opponents. Plus, you have to remember you have the potential gremlins that can come at any time on your gold as Zushi. That's pretty scary too.
Nice micro by CSO, keeping that one galley alive with the fishing boats. Demo now coming in. CSO looking to snipe it. First volley connects, second one does miss. Third one lowering the HP of that demo so much. At the same time though, Wham almost sniping this one galley out there. It's just a non-stop back and forth. Demo still looking for an angle though. Galley is around. Oh my lord, that demo finally does get sniped. So does the galley from Wham. Wham is getting repulsed here.
Yeah, decent ult from CSO. Sadly, he lost a fishing ship, which can sound not too big, but at this point in the game, any economy is actually pretty big. But yeah, he killed two fighting ship for nothing, so it's obviously very valuable. And it's a pretty decent start for CSO. And we have to note, he has a very good gold spawn. So gremlins are not gonna be very useful against that. Or not as useful as if it will be a front gold, right?
How do you feel about these meditation gardens, though? It feels like a very conservative spot. It's all the way at the back, and it doesn't really touch a lot of resources.
I think he just wanted to age up as fast as possible. And it's still not too bad, right? It's 25 gold, and how many wood? Can we click it? It must be like 40 wood, I think.
Yeah, militias now walking across the map. But as you kind of highlighted, the gold is all the way at the back, and these militias, by the time they arrive, they will pretty much be expired. Still, CSO harassing the fishing eco Wham over here. Militias now coming in as well. Looks like one of the militias is already banked up here. Town Center is going to do the work with them. Some idle time is being forced on CSO, but nothing significant really.
Yeah, it's still very annoying, but yeah, for now it's not doing that much. It's fine. CSO is pressuring the map on water though. That's kind of surprising, I think. Against Rus, usually it's pretty hard to pressure because they just make so many units so fast. But since he killed 2 units, maybe he feels like he can do that.
And he's got 3 war junks out already versus the 2 Lodya warships of Wham. Wham does have a demo and a galley as well. Same for CSO. But right now the fleet is a little bigger here for CSO. The 3rd war junk is already on the way.
Yeah, making another one. So the meta on Archipelago recently, it was to make a few war junks like that, and then you would go into a lot of demos. I think on this map it's not as good to do that because it's pretty easy to defend. But it's still something we do, right? Eventually, at some point we're gonna make a lot of demos, maybe like 10, and it's gonna be a big fight. But so far I think demos have very little value. You just want one to pressure your opponent, force him to respect your position, but having more than one I think is pretty useless.
Yeah, here comes the demo. Speak of the devil. Same for CSO. Here CSO does have his demo sniped out immediately. And his war junks took a lot of damage in that close-up fight against those Springald ships from Wham. So CSO is going to have to fall back here. His fleet is very heavily banked up. He's got 2 demos, though. I think there's an archer ship in this group here for Wham, though, to snap that with.
Yeah, but it can be scary for CSO, I guess. Yeah, he's gonna lose 1 ship to a demo. That's pretty bad.
Nice little snipe there for Wham. Couple of other war junks pretty banked up here. Wham is going to call off his attack for the time being. Turns around. CSO saves that war junk in the very last minute.
Yeah, I guess I'm wondering when they will go for wheelbarrow, because for now they are going pretty heavy on army, right? They don't make any economy. They only have the wood upgrade, which is something, but wheelbarrow is obviously very big. You can also go for the fishing upgrade at some point. That is pretty expensive and pretty worth. Okay, we need some good micro to not lose any ship.
Yeah, as you can see, bottom left of our screen, first Knight is out for Wham. He's got a second one in queue. He's looking to put some more pressure on that gold mine. Pressure that really the militias weren't able to impose on CSO here.
Ooh.
CSO, almost connecting with a demo there. That was a very close call here for Wham. Wham, though, he does have his own demos as well. This one getting caught in the front a little, eating a lot of damage. Another demo coming in, gets sniped out immediately. CSO needs to be careful. One of those war junks is heavily damaged, but I mean, that night, it has to be so significant now. Look at all the idle time and the scramble from CSO to build the barracks.
Yeah, it's a massive mistake from CSO to not have his scouts in his opponent's base to be aware of this kind of possibility. Normally you need to scout at all time against Rus, just because of this kind of stuff.
Warjunks, these do not have an archership accompanying them. The demo could pursue. Looks like Wham is playing this one cautiously though, but his fleet is growing bigger and bigger. There are 8 Warjunks for CSO, but not a single aeroship, not a single demo.
Oh, and he lost an extra villager. Yeah, I mean, his wood is all idle. He made a racks in the urgency. But yeah, I guess he is just having a big economy issue.
Demo now coming in here. This could be a big connection. First one gets sniped out. Second demo coming in from the north as well. Wham looking to connect. And it does get a good connection, a lovely connection. There goes half of the fleet from CSO. A lot of the Warjunks are heavily banked up as well. And no more ships are coming out. CSO is going to tap out of this one. Wham securing game number 3.
Rus, man, it's just a bit better. It's just very hard to play against it. Cannot make any mistakes, and they have the upper hand the whole game, so if you just play Rus very well, you're gonna end up winning, and that's what happened here.
Do you think that the pivot into the Knights was the tipping point in this game?
I mean, in this case, yeah, right? Like, he did a lot of damage on the gold, and then on the wood, so, I mean, for sure, on this game, he did so much.
Well, that puts Wham onto a match point over here. 2-1 lead now for the Canadian against CSO. As a reminder, this is a double elimination bracket, so no player is out if they lose in this series. CSO would fall down to the lower bracket to face elimination in an upcoming set. Whereas Wham would actually be very, very delighted to win here. He would actually have a ticket for tomorrow automatically. And he could secure that win on a regions coming up here. Malians is the pick on the side of Wham. On the other side, CSO picking English. How do you feel about this?
I think it's a pretty close matchup. I prefer English usually. But on this map, I mean, it's a weird map, right? Because you only have to save gold as Malians. And then you have to go in the middle of the map to get your gold. So he's gonna have to control the middle of the map if he wants to win this game. Otherwise, he won't have any gold, so I'm not sure. I think Malian is never popular on this map. So I really wonder why he decided to pick it here. He still has Delhi and China in his draft. So Delhi is obviously not too good here, but China is fine. Maybe he just didn't want to have China against English, and that's a snipe. Some people like Mali against English, so that could make sense. But I feel like the map is not the best for it.
Well, we still have 4 minutes left to go here. If CSO ends up winning on this map, then Gorge will be our decider in this best of 5. But of course, this is not the only match going on, so let's take a quick look at the brackets here in the winners bracket part of the online stage. And off we go. Beastie versus Baltoon standing at 1 apiece. Baltoon was the player to pick up the first game, but Beastie now equaled the score out. Wham now leading 2-1 against CSO. Puppy Paw, fellow Canadian for Wham. He's also leaving against the fellow Chinese player of CSO. 2-1 lead for Puppy Paw against Louis MT. And last but not least, Anathan up 2-1 versus Lucifron. I wanted to ask you about these scores though. Is this in line with what you expected, or is any of these scorelines surprising to you?
If I had to predict, I would have said like 3-0 for Beastie. I would have said maybe like 3-1 for Wham against CSO. I would have said 3-1 for Pepipo against Lou. And probably like the same Lucifron 3-1 against Anoton. I think Lucifron is better, but from what we've seen so far, like he's leading to the 2-1 for now. So I mean, I'm not even sure if that's an upset, right? Because last time he beat Vortex in the last tournament, Anoton, pretty convincingly, before losing to him in the rematch. So we know Anoton is he can do this kind of stuff, you know? Like, he can actually beat some top players. That's really not surprising.
And if Anathan were to win against Lucifron, Lucifron would be facing elimination against Demu. That would be, I don't know how you feel about that, but it would be crazy to see, you know, Vortex and Lucifron both playing an elimination match here.
Yeah, it will be pretty sad, but, you know, if you lose, you lose, so it's a game, right? But yeah, it will be pretty sad to see them that early in the brackets, in the loser brackets.
Well, Kiljardi and Zerton alongside Vortex and Dimu still awaiting their opponents
Yeah.
here in the elimination stage. Today we will be taking a look at the round of 8 from the losers bracket as well as the round of 4, so the subsequent round. We have a lot of Age Vampires coming up.
We do.
Well, just a couple of seconds left to go here for game number 2. I think this is a good time to talk through, the stat lines on the player cards for the players. We haven't really had the time to talk about those yet, but, this is one of the cool things to see when you ask pro players about their perception of each other. All the players that are still in the tournament were asked how they feel about the skills and styles of the players involved. So what do you make out of these stat lines?
I mean, from my experience, I would say CsOH is more aggressive, but so far in the series, he's playing well-rounded, like he's doing just very good overall. So maybe I was wrong. And Wham, I think he's more defensive than that. He's always complaining about Beastie camping, but I think Wham is the biggest camper, and he always aims for late game. So I think in my rating, I put Wham in the pretty heavy defensive guy. I don't agree with this. He's not aggressive.
What surprises me is how balanced CSO stats are. It's not like, one of these stats is super high, the other one's a little lower. Like, everything is just smack down in the middle.
Yeah, 7, 7, 7, 6. That's not surprising. Wham is a bit high on macro, attack and defense, a bit better than his micro apparently. I would say that's pretty accurate. I think I did the same. I rated him 1 point higher in macro attack defense compared to his micro. And then creativity, it's a pretty hard run, right? Because like, that's what I always say, right? Sometimes people say, yes, this guy is super creative, but he's not doing very good. So like, what do? You create some bad builds that doesn't work? Or like, do we just say people that are doing good builds and that looks meta are creative? So for example, for Beastie, I think I put him as the most creative to me because I think in the end, when he's doing good, that's the guy I copy the most, right? Because he has good ideas of what matchup to play and how to play it. So that's creative to me, right? He is leading the meta sometimes. And other people, sometimes they do some crazy shit and it's amazing to be creative, but there are some creative losers. So it's not really useful, right?
Indeed, let's see if either of these players will be a creative winner or a creative loser as we head into a decider game between Wham and CSO. It's match point for Wham. If he wins here, he does have a ticket for tomorrow, whereas for CSO, he's going to have to go through the elimination bracket here. CSO with the color yellow as the English, and on the other side, Wham with the Malians in red.
So that's a pretty bad map. You can complain about this one. He has front goal, and then the second goal is very up front too. So, I mean, from how I would play it, any day with English, I got 2DC, fast castle against Malians. I think that's the safe way, and if you play it very well, you will end up winning against Malian if you play it this way. But you have to play it very well, and some people just likes to attack with English. Obviously, it's good to attack with this sieve. So, considering the goal is up front, maybe he's just gonna go for an aggressive playstyle.
It's always a question with English, right? We've seen various English builds throughout the history of AoE 4, going all the way back to the times where people tried playing Dark Age Man-at-Arms and then the classic Longbow Rush. Recently, the use of the King emerged. We've seen 2TC Feudal English builds. So really, you have a lot of options with the English. There are quite a lot of builds that have been established for this civilization.
I mean, you have a lot of options on paper, but King is so broken that in the end, the only option is King, so... Yeah, I agree with you, but at the same time, I disagree now that like King is just too broken to not be used. I think the only matchup where I don't go King is against Abbasid, when you want to just kill them as fast as possible. Because English can do that, it's always been a matchup win. So you don't need the King to help with that. But any other matchup, I prefer the King.
For the time being, Wham just scouting the front of his base here. Abbey is going to be the landmark of choice here for CSO. He's only building that with 2 villagers, though. Other side is standard Munsa Quarry out there for Wham. Indeed, as you highlighted, that front cold is definitely not generous for Wham. And the same can be said of the alternatives. Like, he doesn't really have a second good pit mine placement. In fact, that secondary gold mine is horrendous.
Yeah, it's terrible. I think that's gonna be the main issue, right? Having the first front goal is not too bad, but having the second one that far up is terrible, I think. So I really wonder how he's gonna play it out. But for now, CsO is showing a very defensive approach. Only 2 to age up, so he's gonna go for like the second TC as fast as possible. That's a very good build. And on top of that, we have to remember people, King got nerfed recently. It takes way more time to build now. So it gives so much more space to your opponent to brace a bit, you know, like at the start, you used to have the King in your face instantly. Now you have 15, 20 more seconds, which is always helpful, even though King is still broken.
Well, you know what else is useful? Scouting intel. Wham spotting that stone mining operation immediately. So no CSO's playing 2 TCs here. At the same time, he's also going to scout the Abbey over here. The effect was being pushed towards the gold mine. Kind of tells you where CSO wants to build that extra TC. Wham is just looking to interfere and prevent that.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense to build it here. It's always very good on the gold. And then we can maybe picture a white tower pretty much in this spot too, to have a lot of farms around it and start doing what English do. Make a lot of farms and a lot of units and just have a very good sieve, right?
Yeah, that's usually a good way to win games.
Yeah, very, very well.
Well, here comes the King in just a second. Abbey completes a 4 CSO. On the other side, secondary pit mine has just been dropped by Wham, but of course this is just not a good pit mine to operate with. Top right of your screen, you're going to have a tracker as well for the amount of cattle to work with for Wham, because as much as you're going to have the King out there, CSO's playing 2 DCs, so we might see Wham focusing a lot on his eco as well.
Yeah, so for now he's going wheelbarrow, he's going wood upgrade. I think he's gonna go food upgrade at some point. He's gonna go mining upgrade, normally at some point too. But we have to remember he has to do something right now to defend the King. So he's either gonna go spears or he's gonna go scouts, I guess. But spears is the most likely approach.
Bit of a harassment coming in here from CSO. It doesn't seem like it's much, but you know, you have a King coming in, right? So even that small damage done to the villager could be the difference between killing it or the villager slipping away.
Yeah, he can even just start killing houses. And the King is just gonna come with infinite value. He's gonna come, try to kill spears even. And then he's just gonna go back, heal up, and try to do it again. So it's gonna be a weird thing to do with Malians. You're gonna have to make a few units just to protect yourself from the King. And then you're gonna have to do a bit more because he's gonna heal up and be more dangerous. So have to really respect it.
Well, off we go. Here comes the King. Bit of harassment being done. Final house was not completed over here by Wham. He is mixing in a couple of Donzos to repulse this for the time being. At the same time, second TC is complete for CSO, and he's actually mixing in longbows. He made a range, so it's not just a full 2 TC turtle build. He is going to get some longbows out there.
Yeah. Very interesting. I think normally you can make a push work, especially when the gold is that forward. But maybe it's even a fake push, I'm not sure. We really have to see because for now he has a lot on gold, so if he keeps people on gold, it means he's not gonna really pressure, right?
Yeah, it looks like Wham is going to go heavy on the cattle department. He already has 4 cattle out there. Also mixing in a couple of javelin throwers, so he is anticipating, apparently, the addition of longbows here. Donzo's already coming out. He's trying to save these houses, and I think he's going to be able to. So, house lit ablaze, but it wasn't taken out, so no house is lost here for Wham.
So far. I think it's still gonna go down, but...
Good point.
Yeah.
Good point. First longbowman arrives, repulses the Donzos, so indeed one house gets taken out.
Yeah, Wham is gonna be forced to make a lot of units, which is very annoying, obviously. Your opponent is on second TC, so you just want to make a lot of economy. But obviously, you have to respect the King and what's coming up with it, so... I mean, so far he's respecting it. CsO is making a lot of people on gold, but he's not making any upgrades so far, so I'm not really sure what's the plan with it.
And javelin throwers now being mixed in here. Donzo's coming to party 2. Looks like CSO is just going to bail on this for the time being. He brings up the longbows, does a lot of damage to these first frontline Donzos, but he's just going to fall back for the time being. At the same time, Wham is building up his cattle count nice and steady. Horseman also... Wait a minute. A horseman coming out of CSO. Now, I did not expect that. I don't know about you, but this is not something that you see every day with the English.
I mean, if you really want to attack, you kind of need something to kill the houses and to kill the pit. So I don't think you go man at arms because they're not just that good in that matchup. And you don't go spears because it's just... I mean, you could go spears actually. It could be an ID. But your opponent is close to archer, so it's kind of a weird dynamic if you go for spears. So Horseman is the most likely choice. But still, like as I said, he has a lot of gold, so he's pressuring but not really pressuring at the same time. He doesn't put all his eggs in the same basket, so it's a bit weird.
Yeah, I see where you're coming from. He does have a lot of gold. Upgrades are slowly coming in, double broad axe on the way, but no blacksmith upgrades, no wheelbarrow, no nothing. So he's got a lot of villagers on gold, but that gold isn't really being spent right now. At the same time, Wham is just doing the casual old combination of Dunsos and Javelins for the Malians. Also going very heavy on the cattle. He's already got 12 of them out.
I mean, to be fair, he has a big army, so I would feel safe too with 9 javelin throwers and 7 spears. Considering what I've seen so far, he has a bigger army, that's what needed, so he's fine. Lol. Trying to kill the scouts.
Yeah, that horseman is annoying because of that. It outruns the scouts, so you can just push scouts away or even kill them if there's nothing supporting them. Looks like the Wham's army is much bigger now, so as much as CSO was investing a lot into making that push happen with the horsemen and the longbows, it's actually Wham who's on the attack right now, especially because the horsemen aren't at home. They're looking to do some damage over here, but Wham does have a couple of Dunsos back at home too, so really, I think all eyes are now set on this army for Wham. What can they do? What can they accomplish?
Yeah, I like Wham's position. I feel like if you pressure like that as English against Malians, you're just setting up yourself behind more for like the castle timing. So you don't really create anything. And since he didn't kill anything as we've seen, like I mean, he killed a house, which is 25 wood. He didn't really do any real damage. I think Wham's position is pretty good. He's gonna get to castle at the same timing or maybe even before than his opponent, which is obviously what Malians want, because you want to get at least 4 relics in this matchup. So I think Malian is pretty happy about this position.
Horseman does get sniped out over here, so CSO cannot send it back to heal up at the Abbey. And indeed, with 15 cattle working for him, Wham is up to 1,000 food per minute, 600 gold as well. He's going to be clicking up the Costly Age in just about a minute or so. At the same time, CSO does have the nominal equal lead on worker count, but of course that does not factor in the passive resource income that Wham is having.
Yeah, and I really wonder how he's gonna hold fast castle. Like, Wham is gonna go castle way faster than him. He's even making +1/+1 right now on his archer, so he's spending all his gold on that. So it means he really wants to play for feudal, but I think the timing is gonna be very small, if non-existent. I think Wham is doing very well. So I really wonder, like, what's the real plan behind all of this from CSO?
It's looking grim. It feels like he wanted to get more out of this aggression. He just wasn't able to. He might be able to get the scout, but even that is not going to happen. Grenfell Nicoral on the way here for Wham. And I just want to touch on this a little. I think this is a good time to talk about this. That little wall segment from Wham, it just helps so much against those rotating cavalry. I don't know how you feel about that, but I think this is a good time to have this discussion. How do you, as a pro player, feel about these early walls?
I mean, it's only like 15 wood, right? Or like 20. So that's nothing. It's always very worth to do this kind of stuff. So the discussion is more about bigger walls sometimes, you know? Like the one CSO is doing right now. It makes sense as this timing, right? He wants to secure the bottom part of the map where there is a gold, there is a relic, and there is a lot of farm. But this little wall, I think, is worse, and you just do it at the start of the game. I mean, not the start, right? But eventually in H2, you just do it. It's very worse.
Yeah, so why is it that many pro players often don't do this? Like, we've seen so many games where even little holes that are not plugged in, and then players do get attacked from behind.
You really want to tell me that they suck, right? Like, you want me to say that, right? I mean, if there is no reason to not make it, and in this case you really have to make it, then if you don't do it, you just make a mistake, and that's not good because it's a very easy mistake to avoid, right? It's not like you are doing some crazy smart stuff. You're just making a simple wall that blocks a potential pathway for your opponent.
Yeah, I'm glad we agree on the fact that if it's a cheap wall, why not go for it? But CSO is looking to do some damage here, sees that Wham is up in Costly, tries to fight before the upgrades come in, but his army is just not enough for this. He's got 20 longbows against 16 javelin throwers. That feels like a no-no. And now Wham is mixing in sofas.
Yeah, and now the map issue is not really an issue because Wham is gonna have map control. So the big pit mine in the center. I mean, it's always in the center, which is very annoying for later on. But it's gonna be able to. He's gonna be able to secure this part of the map, I think. Needs some more walls to not die to any cavalry. But other than that, Wham is verified, I think. He is pretty far ahead.
White Tower now coming in here for CsO. He's fully walled back at home. That helps a little. He's going to reach CsOH, getting the White Tower going. But at the same time, I love these trenches. Oh my lord. Looks like Wham for a moment lost track of those horsemen. Does get punished. First villager casualty of the game. But I love these walls. Just makes sure that he doesn't get surprised by these horsemen again.
Yeah, he's gonna control the right side of the map with walls. He's gonna take the middle with anything, right? Because he's just gonna make a pit mine there anyway. So maybe a tower with it. And then the left side is gonna be easy to control with his cavalry, or like anything that he makes, right? He's gonna make a lot of sofas, apparently, from what we've seen.
Indeed, Sofa it's a heavy switch here from Wham. He's not even producing anything else, just 4 Sofas. He's getting imported armor for them. He's also getting some monks out to start picking up the relics, and this is going to be a big change up here from how this game went so far. Wham had a slow army so far, whereas now he's shifting into cavalry, and at the same time, you look at CsO, he's going for a slow-moving composition, spearmen, crossbows, longbows.
Yeah, I'm not sure if he can add some packs to it. I think he will need it. So far, it's obviously very good. He's gonna make archer with it, poison archer, and then he's gonna try to play the CsOH from just this army. I think actually Malian is pretty weird because they have such a good economy, but I feel like in Castle against English, their army is not that good. So you just play archer and Sofa until you get to Imperial and you can get some gunpowder units. But I mean, Sofas are very good, right? I'm just saying against English, longbows are a bit better. Plus you have attack speed defending, so you kind of have some good tools to defend the Sofas run by. Plus the White Tower, obviously.
Javelin thrower still a factor here, though, picking off these spears. CsO now going very heavy on the spearman department. Sofas once again launching an assault. This is only the fraction of Wham's army, though, but it's already posturing in front of the enemy base here. I mean, in the meanwhile, we do have Wham also moving out towards those relics. Not very aggressively, though. It's only one shaman to work with, and he's yet to pick up a relic.
Yeah. I mean, he's gonna have to take at least 4 relics, I think. And then I would go for stone walls on sacred sites to start pressuring the map really well. I mean, to be fair, on this map, usually you don't really have to do that, because you just have the middle to control. And if you control the middle, since it's all the gold, you're fine. But English is kind of stupid with farms economy, so you don't really want to... I mean, you just want to give you all the option against English. So I think you wall sacred site, you start going to H4, and then you really try to all in into your opponent and pressure non-stop.
Looks like Wham is flirting with the idea of breaking in, but you gotta be cautious. You have these English town centers out there, the White Tower, network of castles buff as well. That's still a lot of longbows and crossbows to fight against, so Wham thinks twice about that. He's just gonna fall back. At the same time, though, he's dropping a pit mines on the large gold in the middle, and this is where things get spicy on regions. This is the big difference between this map and Dry Arabia. You have all that gold in the middle, and you just don't find gold anywhere else on the map. So that's something that CsO will need to consider.
Yeah, we have to say something though. The White Tower is in the middle of the left part of the base, right? So it's not securing anything here. Like, racks, markets, and farms can die pretty easily if it takes a good fight. So CsO really have to be careful about this part of the map, otherwise he's just gonna lose the game.
He's fighting without the network of castles buff over here. Sofa
Yeah.
willing to take the fight against the spearmen. Javelins focusing them down from behind, but he needs to fight here because this is his whole farming eco, I should say. So many villagers had to flee this position. He just doesn't have the troops needed to stop this. And there's a second wave behind us. You can only see like 5 Sofas on the screen. You have 13 in total for Wham, so there's a second wave behind this coming up. And Wham is also making a very heavy pivot into poison arrow archers. He's got 27 archers that he's yet to show to his opponent.
Yeah, it's a very good combination. He still has some javelin throwers, very useful against archers. But yeah, as I said, like, this position is really not secure. I think Wham could just reinforce from this point and just pressure the farms as much as he can. I don't think CsO will ever recover if he loses this setup, so it's a very good fighting point.
Relics are still coming in here for Wham. He's out on 3 shamans in a second. He's going to have 3 relics very soon. And oh my, so many farms have to be rebuilt. This doesn't feel like he's just adding more villagers to food. This feels more about migrating the workers from this position all the way to the left.
Which is really bad. You need your wood right now to make more longbows, more productions. He doesn't have any safe production on the left. So everything is falling apart for CSO. Good micro from Wham, no? He uses javelin throwers very well against crossbow, which is obviously the ideal target, since you want your Sofa to do as good as possible.
And once again, dive in here by Wham. His army is just so much bigger. 3 times the army count here for Wham, and that doesn't even factor in the fact that these are high-quality troops for Wham. Sofas, expensive units, and 31 poison arrow archers. Just a menace, really. And now farms are being taken out of here for CSO. This is looking so grim for him, and this is match point for Wham. CSO, the player who won in the previous round against Vortex 3-1, is very close to being knocked down to the lower bracket here.
Yeah, Wham is playing very well. And on top of that, like controlling this farm, you also control the gold at the bottom part of the map, which is the last gold of your opponent. So you know your opponent is out of gold. So just staying here and keep macroing up, you are just gonna win in the long run. That's what he's doing. Just have to stay here and he's gonna win.
He's trying to play food denial here. He's walling off the whole left side, saying, listen, if I'm denying the farms, he might try to go and hunt. I'm just going to wall off the hunt on the left side even. Really, Wham is just playing such a marvelous resource denial game here. So many of these valuable farms being destroyed too. So even if CSO is pushing his opponent away from here, he's not going to have these farms back.
I think you're being too nice to Wham. I think he's just trying to secure the sacred site on the left, and instead of making a smart small stone wall, he's just going like, yeah, let's make a line of food walls so I can make sure this site is safe. It's 100% of that, for sure. He's just being lazy, but it's better than nothing, and he's controlling space, so why not? It's better than nothing, right? Like, you really want to control the left side, so in the end, it's a good move for sure.
And he wants to go up to Imperial. He does so with the Fortress of the Huntress. Very reminiscent to that Spaskaya Tower we've seen in the Dry Arabia game. This one is also placed... Is that placed in the middle? No, it's actually a keep, and I think it got placed back at home in the end. No, never mind. It's right there. It just didn't show on the minimap just yet.
Yeah, I mean, he just wants to age up. Make one more keep in the middle to make sure the goal is safe. It's pretty smart. Like, you just want to upgrade your Sofa and your Archer, and then you're gonna win the game. That's when you feel your victory condition, so right now you just step back, you do those upgrades, and then you go back onto the goal, I think, where CSO used to be. And right now you could even pressure this wood line, for example, or anything on the left. So I think Wham is doing it pretty well. And I think he could just go heavier on the age up and make sure like your opponent doesn't go on gold at all by just pressuring it as fast as possible.
This really feels like just a game where Wham, he might be able to defeat his opponent just by diving with his army, but he doesn't want to risk it, right? He just has a leading position, all the map control, relic advantage, Imperial Age advantage. He's also denying a lot of resources from his opponent. It's more of a matter of simply not risking it, right?
Yeah, no, he's just playing it clean. He's making sure that he's covering sacred sites too. Okay, that's a big stone wall. Why not? He's just gonna take space. And on top of that, the little wood wall on the left is just gonna make sure you know your opponent is not onto this wood, which is obviously very big too. So yeah, just go age up, make all your good upgrades, go back to pressuring your opponents.
And just as a side note, both sacred sites are in the corners, one in the east, one in the west, and those corners are being walled off by Wham. So he's about to start the sacred site timer as the king is just like randomly roaming the map. He indeed is starting the sacred site countdown, and he's going to have the sacred sites walled in.
Not anymore. Yeah, I was seeing this kind of little horseman run by on the right, but he never dealt with it. Unlucky. I mean, it's fine, right? It's just an extra winning condition for him. So if it's delayed a bit, it's not a big deal.
Well, King also getting cleaned up here. Elite upgrades coming in. CsO is not done with this game yet, though.
No.
He's got 107 villagers. He's aiming for Imperial as well. Berkshire at the front of his base. He does have a respectable amount of men-at-arms, something that we haven't yet talked about. Does have clad armor as well. And as much as he doesn't have a lot of mineable gold, he does have enclosures coming in here soon for him as the English. So that's going to at least help out to a certain extent.
I mean, yeah, for sure, like, he has enough gold to make man-at-arms upgrade, probably enclosure, so... Maybe he's not that dead, I'm not sure, like... I feel like Wham, if he still plays very well, and control middle very well, he should be fine. He has 4 relics, he has a good amount of villagers. I'm not sure if he has a second TC or not, I don't think so. Yeah, I think he should have added one at some point. But... it's just Malians, right? He's just gonna have a massive army size, and he's just gonna try to control the middle. But it's not over for sure, like... CsO still have a fighting chance.
Well, he needs to fight here because this is essentially a decider in this series. Sofa's now jumping on those expensive siege weapons. Those have a pretty high gold cost, so losing that manganol is definitely not helpful. Wham looking to snipe the Trebuchet as well. Dives underneath the White Tower and the Berkshire Palace, but once he sees that army, he's just going to be like, nope, I'm not taking that fight.
Yeah. I'm worried, like, I think Wham, if he controls the second gold, he would have had a very easy time. But he totally surrendered on that, because his age up was a bit too slow, I think. If he really age upped very fast and put pressure on the gold, I think it was 100% GG. But since these 4k gold are... I mean, he's just getting them for free. I think CsO is now having a small chance to fight in the middle.
Yeah, his Berkshire has such a massive range over here. It's almost able to reach stuff underneath this keep. It's also trapping down this one keep in the middle. Wham himself getting all his Imperial Age upgrades. Just look at this menace that Berkshire Palace. The ranges on that is insane, really.
Yeah, I mean, Trebs with attack speed is a little bit OP, obviously. They are attacking very fast, so he's gonna be able to take down keeps very fast. It's still 45 man-at-arms, which are not gonna be that good against Poison Archer and Sofas. You need some more, I mean, either Musofali, but I'm not sure if that's a good choice in late game, or you just go Gunpowder, which is obviously gonna be very good. So you need some University upgrade too, to make sure your Sofas are gonna be doing good. On top of that, he lost the Sacred Site, so it's not a talking point anymore, which is pretty big.
Indeed, that's a lot of men-at-arms. 50-ish men-at-arms closing in on the middle. There's the Fortress of the Huntress, though. Cannon emplacement coming in as well. Culverin on the back line, though. Now, these Sofas, they aren't in the middle to stall out this aggression. Instead, they're looking to raid. At the same time, Poison Arrow Archers, supported by some Musafati Gunners and then some Musafati Infantry, even. Feels like it's going to be enough to hold all these men-at-arms. Mangonel fire from the back line. So much firepower to help out the game, against all these men-at-arms.
Yeah, he has a lot of firepower. One Mangonel, Culverin. This so far one by, let's see. Because he doesn't have any pike upgrade so far, so maybe pikes are not gonna be able to defend this kind of stuff. So he has to really respect this kind of one by. But at the same time, gold just ran out, so there is nothing bottom. The wood is not used here, and it's just a few farms. So if he really wants to do economic damage, he's gonna have to go deeper than that. So there was no enclosure, didn't see.
Yeah, I don't think he has enclosures either. The gold income is just very, very low, less than 400 per minute here for CsO. These Sofas looking to do some damage. At the same time, Musafati warriors supported by Sofas and archers from the back line, they're holding their line against all these men-at-arms. Men-at-arms numbers just dropping so quickly here for CsO. He's down to just 15. Longbow's helping out from the back line as well, but Culverins are rolling up, so do the Mangonels here for Wham. Wham just seems to have so much military momentum here. The Culverin doesn't even care for a moment here, going all the way in the middle. Sofa's slowly getting cleaned up, but most of them are still at least idling out the eco here from CsO. CsO just now grabbing enclosures.
Yeah, big one by. It's doing a lot of work. He's forcing his opponent to go into mass spears against mass archer, which is obviously very hard. I mean, you want to take down the Berkshire, right, eventually, so he's making some traps, but it's gonna take a while to take it down. So let's see. He's gonna have to start pressuring the map for him.
Indeed, traps are now rolling up here for Wham, looking to target the Berkshire, but it's so difficult to take it out. Look at the range on that thing once again. Yeah. And that just... This is just such a difficult position to push all together. You have the Berkshire there, but also behind it you have Town Centuries, you have the White Tower. So much firepower still available here for CsO.
Yeah, for now the Berkshire is not very well upgraded. It's only shooting arrows and nothing else. So it's still pretty easy to take down. But yeah, it's obviously very scary.
Spearmen now being mixed in here. They are missing the elite status, I do believe, but it's going to provide some sort of a front line here. Unfortunately for CSO, Wham stopped making sofas. He's now making a heavy switch into Musafati warriors.
Yeah, I mean, well, that's one of the problems in late game for Malians. Usually you tend to have a problem in front line. Sofas are obviously bad against spears, so you need something else. And Musafalis are very good at killing stuff, but not too good at tanking. So it's just pretty much gonna be a quick fight, you know. You're always gonna lose your front line, but you're gonna kill so much in the process that it's fine.
Well, once again, man-at-arms numbers are partially back on track here for CSO. He's got a lot of spearmen replacing those lost men-at-arms, but then again, the problem remains the same, you feel. You're facing mangonels, you're facing poison arrow archers as well, and this infantry frontline is just evaporating in the blink of an eye here for CSO.
Yeah, I mean, still doing a little bit of a job, but yeah, it's not gonna hold for long. I think until you don't have attack speed, your army is gonna do
my
good.
word,
That's a
that
big shot.
mangonel shot.
Yeah,
And
it was a very beautiful one.
that might have just slammed the door on CSO's hopes for this game. That was just a catastrophic loss of troops. He does have a lot of food to work with, but not a lot of gold. He does have wood, but he has to venture all the way out of his base for wood, and I think Wham is starting to sense that. Wham might be looking to start denying those resources soon.
Yeah, no, wood is the talking point, as you said. And one should be aware, like, if you want some safe wood now, you have to go either at the top of the map, or you have to go at the full bottom of the map, which are two part of the map that are not secured from CSO. So he could go for a sofa switch again, and go for some run by for sure.
Abs shooting at units over here, not something that you see every day. And CSO has a lot of farms being built outside his walls as well. Like just to the left of us, you actually have a large concentration of new farms being built.
I think the problem is gonna be siege. CSO doesn't have enough food and gold for that, and Wham just is covering it very well. He has 4 Mangonels and 3 culverins. So if you want to beat that, you want at least like 6, 7, 8 spring gold, which is gonna be very expensive. Yeah, and on top of that, he doesn't have the siege upgrade on the university, so it's a lot of problem for CSO if he wants to really retake the middle.
Oh, well, Trebs are once again setting up. Looks like CSO is looking to flank around. I think Wham may have missed it, but as I'm saying that, he's shifting to the north as well. It looks like he tried to just run into the enemy base here, but he is just hitting a stone wall, literally and figuratively as well.
Yeah, sadly he couldn't stonewall the left part of the map, so he could put some pressure on the second site. But that's a little bit too late for that anyway now, so he's just gonna try to win from just good economy and pressuring to the Berkshire, which should work. As I said, it's gonna take a long time, but normally, eventually, it's gonna work out.
Blacksmith upgrades are still somewhat lacking over here for Wham. He only has the ranged upgrades maxed out, but he's now picking up a bunch of upgrades with all that gold available to him. And that could be a difference maker. I don't know how you feel about that, but CSO doesn't have a lot of gold to work with, so he might not be able to afford all these late-game upgrades easily.
Yeah, you really need to do all your upgrades in the late game, so obviously CSO is gonna have a problem with that. And Wham is starting to do that now. Even like +3 food and +3 wood, it doesn't seem that big, but in the end it's just gonna matter a lot, I think. So any upgrade is helpful, for sure.
Big push coming up here, but once again, Man-at-Arms just running into his stonewall here. 21 Musafati gunners now with chemistry upgraded. Musafati warriors, poison arrow archers on the front line, but it looks like it's just a swarm right now from CSO. There's a second wave, there's a third wave behind us. At the same time, some archers from Wham break into the eco of CSO. This is such a well-fortified position, though. 4 mangonels with all these Musafati gunners from the back line. So many valuable units being killed here for CSO, but he was slowly gaining ground until he pulled the plug on this operation.
Yeah, he's doing not too bad in those fights, but he's not really doing anything at the same time, right? He's just fighting for the position that doesn't really break, so... I mean, it's a good try, right? He really needs to retake this position at some point. And if he feels like he can take a good fight, that's a good idea to do it. Especially if you can do this fight with like 2 or 3 spring gold. I think that would be beautiful. You could easily snipe some Mangonels and some Culverins. But without any spring gold, I think it's not the best.
Now, once again, men-at-arms are charging out over here. They're heavy on the food cost, but guess what? CSO has so much food, and he's just sending wave after wave of men-at-arms, now supported by a lot of longbows. And one thing that Wham doesn't really have is armored units. These longbows are having a feast on all these Mustafari gunners and Mustafari warriors. Castle being dropped in the middle as well by CSO. He's looking to contest this gold mine. So many precious siege weapons going down here for Wham, and this might be the first time in quite a while that CSO is really starting to feel like he's gaining momentum.
I mean, if he makes this castle and it goes up, I agree with you. If he doesn't, I think the position doesn't really change. You still have two castles to fight. You have a lot of siege. So, and I feel like the castle is already taking too much damage from the traps.
Yeah, the castle's being trapped down over here. It's going to complete, but it's going to be so low in HP, and mangonels are also nearby. Culverin is not focusing down the siege weapons that are coming in from CSO. His men-at-arms are also slowly disappearing, and new mangonels are coming up. These longbows have to micro non-stop to dodge those projectiles. Castle still stands though for CSO, and he does get the attack buff now.
Yeah. When making more mangonels, he's gonna lose a few. They are all blocked into this castle. Okay, he's only losing 2, maybe 3. Okay, that's fine.
How do you feel about him still making Mustafari gunners and Mustafari warriors? Do you think you should switch back to Sofas potentially?
Yeah, I think you go gunners and you go Sofas. I think that's a very good combination, and you can also put pressure on the wood line of your opponent if you do that. Right now the problem is that he doesn't put any pressure on to your opponent's economy when your opponent's economy is not safe anymore because of food. So I think that's a pretty big mistake to not go into Sofas now.
Still, it's Mustafari warriors, Mustafari gunners. Now, CSO has to resort to taking all these tree lines to the front. He's essentially depleted the map to the north as well. So really, now he needs to take the wood from the front line. Same goes for the gold. Some rams are being built though by CSO. He's looking to ram push this middle.
Rams against culverins usually tends to not do very well. But if he can really push into his opponents with man-at-arms, maybe not, maybe why not, but I'm really not sure about it. It feels like it's gonna be a pretty bad try. I would rather see him making more siege and trebs, but obviously, like, I'm not even sure like what the market cost right now on gold and food and wood, but it must be pretty bad, I think. Tied
It's
down
a
too.
late Tithe Barns upgrade
Yeah,
here for Wham.
very late.
He's been in Imperial for a long time, and he had 4 relics. That's definitely a late upgrade.
He's making so much siege. 7 mangonels, that's so much. But to be fair, it's against almost 60 longbows, so it makes a lot of sense to go heavy onto mangonels. But I think if you do that, you can just go mass Sofas with it. Don't need any backline, you just go mass frontline.
Yeah, Mustafari warriors looking for a fight over here. They do butcher the man-at-arms. It looks like they will just swarm the archers as well. Wham just wants to go like full Mustafari warrior plus complete siege. He's got 3 trebs, 3 culverins, 7 mangonels as well. Like, the amount of siege he has is just ludicrous. And there is no anti-siege here from CSO.
Yeah, he's just too poor for it. He has to make some rams. Okay, it's to break on the left, why not? He really wants to start going onto his opponent's economy, and that's the only way to do it, right? You have to break out on the left or on the right. The left makes more sense because it's where the farms are most likely to be.
Castle being dropped in the middle here by Wham, looking to deny that wood line. A dive coming in from CSO falls flat on its face. First group of units gets butchered by the mangonels, and the Mustafari gunners flank coming in from the north as well, however. Looking to jump on the mangonels, but they do not manage to get there. Castle is still in danger though to the rams, to the longbows. But the man-at-arms do get repulsed, and Wham still is able to hold its position. In the meantime, looks like we do have a bit of a break into the eco of CSO once again. These mangonels, they just don't have anything, or we just don't have anything from CSO that can deal with them.
Yeah, he's finally killing a bit of the wood line, which is the weak point of CSO. And no, he's really gonna have a big problem, CSO. He won't be able to make any backline other than longbows, but if you start losing all your wood, at some point you won't be able to remake them, and you're just gonna lose the game. So that's where you really want to hit.
He's got still a lot of longbows in queue, but the resource bank is starting to run low here for CSO, especially the food, or especially the wood and the gold, I should say. Trebs are now rolling out. Now, one thing that helped Wham in this fight was that he had a very nice choke point, so it might be a little bit more difficult to protect these mangonels as he moves out. But are you surprised that we're not seeing any Springles here from CSO?
I mean, I really don't think he can afford it without any gold, so... it's surprising, but in the end, really cannot afford it, so he understands what he's trying to do. I think he should respect his winning condition more. He should try to push the side a bit more with Rams and not really fight in the middle. Really only fight in the middle if you really feel like you have a good fight. But so far he's not gonna be able to put any pressure on the side. Wham is controlling it pretty well.
CSO is still looking for opportunities to breach these stone walls. Now he's trying to the south, but his army, I mean, it shrunk a little. Now he's trying another push here. Mangonels just firing from behind the wood line. Once again, nothing that really threatens these Mangonels and the man-at-arms. They are just getting absolutely annihilated.
I mean, one Ram maybe is gonna break in. Who knows? But is that really gonna be helpful? Like, most of his army is in the middle, so even if it's really doing something, it's not really gonna do something.
I was thinking the same. If you pull the army from the middle, then Wham is just going to march into your base, and he's thinking about just that. Now he's setting up the traps as well, firing away at the Berkshire. Looks like he's trying to drop another keep over here. Villagers somewhat unprotected, but the men-at-arms are just no longer here for CSO. His army count is dropping way too quickly. Longbows diving, trying to stall out this castle, but at the same time, the Mangonels are still untouched. The Musafati gunners are still untouched. And CSO is just losing all his army. He's completely out of wood. This might be it for him.
Yeah, I mean, if you lose the Berkshire, you're totally dead. Until you lose it, you're kind of in the game. But yeah, for now, like, the army is too big and it's too high quality from Wham. He has the best backline, he has the best front line, and he has a lot of siege. So you cannot really ask for anything else, so it's just gonna be very hard for CSO to retake.
And now he's making sofas. Sofas that have been missing so much from this engagement. And it's going to be an exceptionally good front line here. Berkshire is going to go down, and Wham is just going to continue pushing in here. A lot of production buildings could also be exposed here.
Yeah, I didn't even have the longbow upgrade. That's pretty sad. He was fighting with 6 longbow for so long. It's very sad that he didn't have it. But he was like in gold the whole game, so it's not that surprising that he's missing some key upgrades.
Mangonels now creeping up, and even stone walls are being placed by Wham. He probably wants to put those Musafati gunners up top, plus of course provide that screen for the Mangonels to prevent Springolds from sniping them.
Yeah, I guess it's to protect the Mangonels mainly, but... And the Trebs, right? Trebs are gonna be safe from behind, so... Well, that's pretty lame, but it worked, right? It's a good idea.
Here comes the Hail Mary here, but these stone walls just funnel the men-at-arms into one narrow choke point. Mangonels, Musafati warriors, Musafati gunners, same story as before. These men-at-arms, they're just getting absolutely shredded here. Longbows getting cleaned up as well, and the siege, there's just nothing that CSO can do against that. Mangonels are still alive, and Wham continues to push. So close he is to securing his ticket to tomorrow and taking another win here in the winner's bracket.
Yeah, it was a pretty well played game, I think. The only thing I said that was negative was like he didn't really play the tempo of the H4 onto the second goal of his opponent. Other than that, I think he played it pretty well at the middle of the map. He was always making the right call, and he was always making the right amount of siege, which can be a bit hard sometimes. But I think he played it very well, and he was always controlling the sides too. Very good defense from Wham.
Now the Trebs are taking away at those last remaining production buildings, defensive buildings. CSO still looking to rebuild his army over here in terms of the man-at-arms. He actually has a lot of gold in the bank now. But, I mean, it just tells you how much he was lacking gold that he's still getting blacksmith upgrades 40 minutes into the game.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, for sure. He had some big gold issues. Only one relic, no sacred site. You only have your farm economy working for you. And he got enclosure pretty late. So it's not even like he got enclosure instantly. But yeah, no matter what, you don't have any gold to mine, it's gonna be a hard game for sure. And it was a very hard game for CSO.
And I think Wham wants to drop a keep. He's got a bunch of villagers moving forward. He's got enough stone for that. He wants to push his opponent out of this game. CSO tried another push on the Mangonels, but once again, it just didn't happen. Villagers actually will be repairing these mangoes. Bit of a traffic jam here through this gate is the only thing that's slowing Wham down right now.
Yeah, he's finding some farm economy. He can push this relic, maybe take it. Maybe he's just gonna kill everything that is landmark, I guess. He's very close to the second landmark and to the main landmark, so landmark victory could be a way to make your opponent quit.
Indeed, I think Wham is done playing around here. He has taken out 2 landmarks already. The White Tower and the starting TC are also fairly close. He's going to start moving towards that as well. Indeed, White Tower already being trapped down. That would be 3 out of 4 landmarks. And again, he's got 10 mangonels on the field.
Yeah.
What even are you going to do against that?
Nothing except spring gold, and if you don't have money, you just leave, I guess. That's too much.
Yeah, it just feels too much. And I mean, knowing how dominant Wham's position is, I would not be surprised if he stole the relic from that monastery.
That's really possible, yeah. Okay, now.
Yep. And there we go. Wham securing the 4th game in this series. And with that, a ticket to tomorrow. A long and grindy game over here. But I mean, I think the army graph just tells you the whole story. This really didn't feel like it was CSO's game at any given moment.
Yeah, from the start, from this strategy he shows at the start, I think he was always a bit behind. And then he never could come back into the game. Wham always secured the position very well. So it was a mistake at the start from CSO, I think, to be aggressive like that, even against such a bad map. But then Wham just played it well. Good economy, good map control. He took 4 relics, and he just played it pretty solid, right? Pretty good.
Indeed, and with that, Wham is the one winning this opening round. We, of course, have Killer Pigeon here as well that was looking at the games that we had, as well as probably keeping track of the other series that have been going on in the meantime.
I was. My brain's still a little bit scrambled. The 62% win rate in this tournament for Malians just got improved by a Regions game with bad gold spawns and 50+ military pop into Siege. I can already see Wham in chat talking about Siege. Probably have a Reddit thread up later talking about English and their keeps. But we have got to talk about what's been happening elsewhere. So we've got some interesting updates here. Lucifron versus Anatan went down to the line. A 5-game series that ended with Lucifron thrusting forward deeper in the upper bracket. Anatan, of course, will have to fight for his life in the lower. An interesting Mongol Abasa game on Golden Heights to round out the series, which suggests that Lucifron maybe got a slight outdraft there. We can also see Puppy Paw was able to slay the Chinese beast Louis 3-1. And of course, the other Chinese player will be joining his comrade down that lower bracket. And finally, Beastie versus Baltoon is still ongoing. Beastie now on match point. They're actually getting ready for a game 4 on Kawasan, where Baltoon is getting unorthodox here. Beastie has the Japanese, but Kawasan, usually a map you wouldn't think Juji gets picked too much on. Well, Baltoon is looking to experiment there. So curious to see how that one's going to play out. But